Tonight on Poker Night Live, it's Survivor Champions Night. The good news, 4 former Survivor champions are at the table. The bad news, Poker Night Live is desperately over budget and we must eliminate one member of the crew. How are we gonna do that? Tribal council style. Let's tally the votes. Stapes, Camera Kyle, Jesse, Camera Kyle, Stapes. The final vote, Camera Kyle. The crew has spoken. Please leave the gardens immediately. Wait, hold on. No, hold on a second. I didn't think this through completely. Hold on, let me, I think Jesse is probably less crucial. Hey guys, so I thought we would kick off Poker Night Live this week with a little peek behind the scenes. Now, I do a lot of talking on the show every week. One guy who doesn't get to say very much at all is our actual commentator, Jesse. So I thought it would be nice to show him a little love, take you guys backstage, and show you the home of commentator, Jesse Abramowitz. This is Jesse's area back here. This is his headset microphone. This is his mixing board. He presses a button on this so he can talk to you guys. This is his audio monitor so he can hear what's happening at the table. Over here, now this is really cool. This is the whole cam monitor. Hold on, let's move this pillow and blanket out of the way. Check this out. And that is his Foreman grill and toaster. Oh, Jesse. Are you living back here?
I'm in Boeing Jets, Global Express at the country with the blueberry still connects on a low, on a yacht, got a triple deck. But I'm young with the beep. Do you expect? Grand opening, grand closing.
I hate tournaments. I just yesterday was the IO, like they did 2,500. I get down to 4 people. My over pair to under pair, all in for like 70% of chips, and just get crushed.
Wait, and you lost?
Yeah, but it's typical. It just happens. Just tourneys, man.
So you're saying that an over pair lost to an under pair in a tournament?
On a river, the guy has to like
On a
leave.
river, of all places.
Because it went in pre-flop, but
places.
that's tournament poker. You know how it is.
This week, we are having Becca from The Bachelor on the show, and today I get to give her a poker lesson at 1 o'clock. She's incredibly cute, very charming. I'm hoping she's still single. Needless to say, I am very excited. So when I'm meeting someone new, I like to be early, punctual, put my best foot forward. That's why it's good we're a couple minutes early.
I'm having a great time just getting to know you right now.
Likewise.
Awesome. Oh.
Hi, hey.
Hi.
Hey. Joe, hi. I thought the poker lesson was at 1.
Did I say 1? I thought I said noon.
No, you definitely said 1.
Sorry.
I'm just really upset with Jesse right now. It's fine if he wanted to spend some alone time with Becca. Would have been fine with me. I just wish he didn't lie to me. I don't know if I can even do this.
Wait, so Jesse isn't the host?
He Stapes calls with his...
So Gerald told us earlier that he robbed 4 banks a day, and he worked 5 or 6 days a week.
It's a lot of
How do you do that?
Just get a real
Seriously.
job at that point.
Some
if you have to
banks
work
are
that
open on
much.
Saturday mornings.
And what do you do with a gun?
No.
Wait,
All right, I'm waiting.
or not do it.
All right.
Just go in there and what do you do?
Ask them nicely.
You say, hey.
I wrote a note on the back of a
slide?
check, and
like 15?
I would say I'd push the check over, made out, and I would say, would you see if I endorsed that? And they'd turn it over, and it'd be printed out big.
And it would say what?
When you say, can you do this quickly? I got to get to 3 other banks.
No.
He has a dinner.
He's got a
He's got dinner. Go.
Button moves.
Thank you.
Don't want to set off any alarms. Don't alert anybody.
So
Don't
long
give me
note.
the die pack. No, very brief, and the bold letters at the bottom says I don't want to hurt anyone.
For the kids watching at home, can you give us like your top 3 like robbing a bank tips?
Okay, one is
tutorial?
don't, second's do, and the third is it.
That's a mixed message.
So the second one is do.
Do is
Sounds,
confusing.
yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta read the
confusing.
notes all in one.
Right.
Don't do it.
That's what he's saying.
Well, I can't put it all together like that.
Well,
That
you
doesn't
should
make
be able
sense.
to, David. You're an adult. Also, we're going to need you to spread your cards out so the card reader can read them.
Thank you.
Oh, dear.
Get on him, John.
Sloppy chips.
I was nervous. That was a nervous bet right there.
So it's Tony Allen raises to 15 with Jack 10.
Okay.
Call.
And would you look at this?
Good action.
Couldn't run any hotter. David Wayne, 2 aces.
Min raise?
Makes it 30.
If that's short for
Maybe that's
minimum,
what he-
why
maybe
did
that's
you
what he
use-
wants.
Maybe.
You use the min way of saying min. You could
Min, that's called.
Short for Minetta.
The Minetta raise popularized by
Louise Minetta.
Louise Minetta.
Under the Minetta Tavern.
4 ways to the flop. Will aces hold up? So far, so good.
I don't know.
I'll allow it.
All right, he's the host.
If it's part of a
He's the
bit.
host.
So Wayne goes 1/4 pot, and he'll probably get called by top pair, probably get called by the straight draw, or gut shot and backdoor hearts.
Louise Minetta rolling over in her grave now with what's happened on this hand.
Well, rapidly unminned.
But 125.
You're such an ass.
Not a curse word.
Nope, totally fine.
I'm saying, you know, like the donkey version.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
The donkey.
So
such a
Joshua
donkey.
Molina has chosen to turn
You
his straight draw
donkey.
flush draw into a bluff, leading for 125.
As my mother
Not
would
an
say, you're a
easy
real cheat.
call for
Did you
David
say
Wayne.
that?
No, she's not paying
This
attention.
was
is
not
safe.
paying attention.
She's not watching. We lost her.
Do I have?
They were enjoying us.
If he says 125, do I have to double it if I wanted to raise?
Yes.
If you want a min raise.
Minetta,
Louise Minetta.
If you want a Minetta raise.
rest in peace.
God bless your soul.
Timeout 250.
So David Wayne uses 0 seconds of his timeout and doubles it.
125?
He min raised.
250 total?
Yeah. All
I'm
day.
gonna call. One time.
He's asking for his one time.
One time.
Oh.
I did try to.
Trying to get that discount.
Davey didn't mean it. Just
That didn't work at all.
Oh, boy. It did for one of you.
125.
I should probably fold, right, Jesse?
At this point, I mean, you just have to call.
Oh, well, he
Even if you're
would really
losing.
know. I fold.
That is an insane fold. Well, fold of the season there from David Wayne.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Buddy, what's going on with your Australian tour?
I'm going to Australia.
Excellent.
Are you gonna tour there?
I'm going to Australia. I'm going
He really added some color to the story there, didn't he?
How many dates? What
I'm
venues?
playing 4 dates down under.
Nice.
Maybe
Oh,
the
boy.
Australian Josh.
Maybe, I'll leave you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gardens Poker Night and Poker Night Live's stand-up comedy evening. Please welcome to the stage your first comedian, Chip Potworthy.
Hey, all right, yeah. Do me in, guys, do me in.
First of all, can we get a hand for the host? No, seriously, please, get the man a hand. He only plays trash. Oh, if you guys are anything like me, you play too much poker. Here's how you can tell. If you've ever seen a mismatched couple, a 10 with a 2, and thought to yourself, Doyle Brunson, well, chances are you play too much poker. If you've ever been stuck in traffic and you looked at the license plate, the car in front of you, and saw it says AKQJ9 and thought to yourself, busted straight. Well, there's a really good chance you play too much poker. If you've ever just gotten done giving your old lady a massage and looked at her and said, action's on you, you probably play too much poker. If you've ever come home to an astronomical receipt from Williams and Sonoma, and you thought to yourself, boy, my wife sure is pot committed, well, then you definitely play too much poker. And speaking of my wife, I'm late for dinner, and I'm afraid my wife's gonna blind off my food. Thanks a lot. Hey, don't forget to tip your deal.
My first experience getting hired for any job, I was just picked out walking through IKEA with my mom. They had a casting desk there, and they were taking Polaroids of kids, which is something I don't think they would allow today. But my photo got picked off a pile, and that's how I got my first commercial, which led to other things. Rob and I have played golf together a couple times, and I just worked on his new show for Crackle, Rob Riggle's Jet Ski Masters Academy, which we're shooting in Malibu, and which is going to be a really funny show. I'm definitely wary of Riggle. He's a pretty strong competitor in a lot of categories, so I'll be watching out for him.
Got some sick one-liners from that gets through. Good job, Gentili.
So if there's a hurricane or what that...
There was.
Yes. Now, do the goats, do they get unhappy? Like if they're not milked, do they get all like
Well,
anxious or...
I don't have any goats that I'm currently milking. They're pregnant.
Oh, okay.
But because I don't milk them regularly already, and when they are producing, their kids are eating their milk.
Oh,
So they're doing the milking for me, and I just sort of sneak in and get some. Once they're old
Do you
enough.
make
Once
cheese?
they're old
Do
enough.
you make cheese?
Yeah, I've made cheese, yogurt.
Oh wow,
I don't know why I'm here.
Awesome.
I really like goat products. Like I like goat cheese. I like goat
Yeah,
yogurt.
and the milk is, I mean, people think it's weird. It's not. It's wonderful.
I think it's probably healthier for you than cow products.
I mean, it's
easier for people to digest.
slightly higher fat content, but it doesn't have the
Zach is
people that are
it's
lactose
4
intolerant.
parts, he
apparently
raises
can,
it to 300.
That's what I mean. It's easier to digest. From what I heard, a lot of people. Also, sheep too is in the same ballpark.
But I bought a, haven't used it yet, but I bought a cream separator because, interestingly enough, goat milk is naturally homogenized.
So
the cream
Furman
doesn't
calls
separate
with
out
King
easily.
10.
You can't just let it
Queen
sit and then
3,
scoop off
2
the cream,
diamonds.
so you have to use centrifugal.
Well, that's interesting.
Did I miss action? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I can't breathe.
I had goat butter recently, but it's too tart. It's a taste. It's like very tart.
Again, I imagine it has to do with a lot of different variables.
Depends what the goats eat, I'm sure. Like
Yeah.
the goat butter I had is probably different than yours, but obviously.
Okay,
The milk
everybody
doesn't
hold
have
up 5 fingers.
any odd flavor.
Okay, Kelly, stop.
I started playing poker back in New York City when I was at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. Amy Poehler, she used to host poker nights and stuff, and sometimes we'd do it at the theater after the theater closed, and sometimes we'd go to people's apartments, but I started back in New York. Yeah, people ask me all the time, are there correlations between jet skiing and how I play poker? How do I do both? And drunk and reckless is usually the answer.
I played as a kid. My mother used to be a professional card player. So as a young man, my mom was great at cards and still is. How would I rate Rob Riggle as a poker player? He would be, if he were a poker hand. Rob Riggle's a Jack 4 offsuit. He's a hand that you just muck, garbage, he's trash. He's a trash man, he's a garbage man. I guarantee he loses tonight. He's gonna be in a nice suit. Right now he's getting his makeup done. He's gonna come out here looking terrible. He's a very ugly trash man.
Hello, everybody on Twitch. I'm Kane Kalas.
I'm Austin Peck here, guest commentating.
And welcome to the Hollywood Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. And we're today watching a 100-200 no-limit hold'em cash game that's taking place here. It's part of Poker Night in America. We're ready for some high-stakes poker action.
And as you can see, some players have ordered rounds of drinks already, and we've had multiple people straddling and double straddling already.
And it appears as though currently Doug Polk is one of the big winners at the table. I believe he said he was going to be buying in for $100,000. He now has $149,300 in front of him, so up almost $50,000 already. Not too bad of a start. Austin, have you played with any of the players at this table?
I've played with Shaun Deeb once or twice in a tournament out in Vegas. Other than that, I don't think there's any of these other players I've played with.
So a very jovial vibe here at the table. A lot of joking around and laughing. We got a couple of limps in early position. Oh, I apologize. Doug Polk actually started with 150, so all the players around even right now. Everybody else started with 50K, so far there's been no real damage. You guys haven't missed too much so far.
We're working on getting the hole cards for you.
Shaun Deeb, Doug Polk, and John Kasella all sitting next to each other. They actually are all going to be playing in a 50K Poker Night in America heads-up Tournament of Champions Challenge coming up in just a couple weeks, I believe, being broadcast from New York. It's a $50,000 heads-up tournament. The three of them and Phil Hellmuth are going to be playing, and it's winner take all. I'm sorry, actually not Shaun Deeb. Jungle Man will be there. It'll be Polk, Jungle Man, Kasella, and Phil Hellmuth just playing a couple of heads-up freeze-outs, and then the two winners will play each other in a winner take all $50,000 heads-up challenge. So Frank Kasella folds the 10-4 offsuit. Polk calls. And we now have the hole cards working, fortunately. We got 4 players going to the flop.
Looks like GI is going to take a stab and take it down here. Deeb just lets his 8-7 suited go. Working on the table audio. They don't have table audio. Comments or?
So far, not too much damage done at this table. Everybody around the same number of chips that they bought in for. It's a very high stakes game, 100, 200 blinds. So far, it's been straddled to 400 a couple times, even a couple times to 800. There's been the double straddle on there. Your Kasella opened and Deeb called and GI called, so we got 3 players here going to the flop. It's a very c-bettable board here, paired board 9-9 queen, and Kasella takes a stab. Over to Deeb now, is thinking. Makes a call. That seems like a pretty loose call to me. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, he defended the big blind here instead of raising the button raise. So on a paired board, sometimes he likes to peel with ace high. He can sometimes have the best hand, and maybe even outplay him on certain runouts.
Well, he takes the lead on the turn. River card's an 8. Shaun Deeb with the check mark. The only way he can lose this hand is if he folds. A little bit surprised that Frank Kasella checked back the turn. He ended up picking up his gut shot. It seems like it would be an okay turn to continue to fire.
Reluctantly throws his cards up in the air. I imagine that's going check-check pretty often on the river, but I agree with Kane. I think Kasella should probably be betting that turn pretty often.
Players starting to drink early here at the Hard Rock. You can see Shaun Deeb with his Stella Artois. Here's Freedman under the gun with King 10 of Hearts. He just calls. Now call. Look, it seems like this is a lot of pre-flop limping in this game here.
Yeah.
It's going calls around here. Macaulay just limping his pocket kings. That's very trappy kind of play. And we got a family pot here. 6 players going to the flop.
King's still in the lead here. 6 ways. Very surprising.
King's in the lead, but that's a dicey board for Kings.
Yeah, I can't be too happy.
So Polk taking the stab here with a gut shot backdoor flush draw. GI also with a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. He calls. Let's see what Macaulay does here with his pocket kings. It looks like he got away. What do you think of that fold, Austin?
I wonder if that was the GTO strategy there. Can't
just
imagine.
Limping in with the kings, is trying to set mine. You don't hit your set and just check fold on the old 3-4-5 board.
I wonder if the table picked that up correctly. I can't imagine he'd overlimp kings and then just fold. But you know, I have seen worse.
I mean, listen, it was 6 ways to the flop, so when it does go bet call on a board like that, you know, king, it is a dicey situation on that flop.
Hard to imagine you're in the lead, that's for sure.
That's part of the problem, though, with slow playing your kings pre-flop. I mean, when you get pocket kings in a game like this where somebody limps ahead of you, that's a very high value hand. You want to be playing aggressively. You want to give yourself a high probability to win that pot. The worst thing that you can have happen is have 6 players come along and get a board that's very unfavorable for kings like that one.
That's right. Looks like we've seen a raise here in early position to 400, going 3 ways to the flop.
9-10 jack, so 2 pair for Vito.
Vito, the original raiser, still in the lead. A little bit of a dangerous board.
Deeb now with a gut shot, or I'm sorry, a double gut shot here. What would you do with Deeb's hand?
I think Deeb's considering raising here. He's also got the button, so Deeb's an aggressive player who likes to put a lot of pressure on players, and it looks like he is going to do that.
You're absolutely right. With his double gutter here, he raises it up.
Looks like he made it about 2,400, 2,800, excuse me.
Recchi Mirzo not going anywhere with his top 2 pair. We go to a turn. It's a 9.
That's an interesting card.
Very interesting card considering these 2 players' hands. Obviously, Deeb not thrilled with that card as it's possible he could now be drawing dead. Recchi Mirzo not thrilled with the card either as his 2 pair is kind of counterfeited, but it doesn't really matter on a board like this. It's very unlikely that Deeb has an overpair to the board. Does go check, check. He checks again and goes check, check. Recchi Mirzo is going to take it down.
From Las Vegas, huh?
Just big blind and then just comes in whenever. There's no miss blind. Okay. No, there's no miss blinds. You just come in like, or you don't say it. No, it's just like.
pretty obvious every time you use it. Yeah. I'm going to the bathroom again. Oh, it's about that time. Don't do. I can go to the bathroom every
Shaun Deeb just sticking with his limping strategy here. The table's limping strategy, limping Jack 8. Looks like we have a raise here to 600 from GI with the King Queen. Freedman calls. Richie Mirzo saying 10-5, not good enough to defend in my big blind. And if I know Shaun Deeb, he's going to call here as well. He does, and he flops top pair, but a flush draw for Freedman. Freedman quickly checks, and Deeb leading out here with top pair. Do you like this lead?
I think so. I mean, he's the original raiser. I believe he raised to 600. He didn't limp the cutoff there.
Oh, did he raise?
Yeah, he raised and got flatted by GI on the button.
Okay.
And the small blind called as well. So.
Gotcha. Well, look at this. GI raising up the bet here.
That's an interesting
to
raise.
2,500, and Freedman folded his king high flush draw.
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting raise by GI. He doesn't have a lot of equity here when he's semi-bluffing, except for overcards, and it'd be interesting to see what Deeb does here.
Very out of the box raised by GI. You'd be expecting more. He'd be more likely to do this if he had, say, the king of diamonds in his hand.
Yes, exactly.
But with no backdoor flush draw, no backdoor straight draw to speak of, he just raised up the flop. Deeb checks again. GI firing out 3K into 7.
Can't imagine Deeb's going to be folding on this turn. It's pretty much one of the better turns in the deck for his hand. Of course, other than a jack or an 8, but board pairing cards are usually pretty good here.
Deeb staring him down, and now this is a turn where you don't really expect Deeb to fold out too much of what the hand said he would lead call on the flop. River cards an ace. $13,000 in the pot already. Checks over to GI, and he quickly checks behind.
Goes check, check. Deeb's good.
Deeb takes it down. So GI already showing some life here, making a bluff, but Deeb snapping it off there on the flop and turn, winning with his 2-pair. Here we have the seating arrangements at this table.
No, you don't have to post. Just deal in small blind. Just natural. You pay 2 in a row, yeah. 2 in a row?
Again, I'm Kane Kalas, alongside me, Austin Peck. Austin is a local Florida cash game grinder. He also travels the live tournament circuit. He's had quite a bit of success in both no limit hold'em cash games and no limit hold'em tournaments.
Appreciate those words, Kane. I've been traveling for a while, but I enjoy it down here in South Florida, and the games are really good, and it's so great to have Poker Night in America come down here to right in the backyard.
GI, after losing that last pot, coming out attacking with the Queen 8 offsuit. Freedman calling with the King 10 suited. I wonder if it comes 2 clubs, if he's going to just fold the flop. Richie Mirzo is saying this one's good enough to defend. Ace deuce. Top pair for Freedman, bottom pair for GI. Well, GI's continuing to fire out with his bottom pair here. And so far, we've seen GI play pretty aggressively.
Yeah, he's been involved in a lot of pots here, and I believe the chip count's off by a little bit. He looks to only have about 20,000 left at the beginning of this hand. So it'll be interesting to see how he continues playing, if he's going to go aggressively all the way, if he's going to slow down a bit.
Goes check, check on the turn. And Freedman has a pretty good idea of where GI is at here. He bets real small, 1/5 the size of the pot. He's trying to get some additional value, and he does.
Well, he has to consider it for his.
I mean, here's the
For his
thing.
fans. His fans like, Doug, you don't shotgun beer? You're not American or something?
Friedman rakes in that pot.
Actually, something really funny happened. So I ordered like
Do you know anything about Friedman?
I ordered like a scotch like tasting.
No, I don't know anything about Freeman at all. He's a new player. Never played with him, so I was really interested. I was really perplexed to see him just fold the king high flush draw there on that previous hand, alongside with those kings on the overlimp the hand before. So very interesting. We have a couple pairs to be passive players, and then a few more aggressive players at the table.
In the eyes of that one person.
I know. America. Like, I'm sorry, man.
Don't let him see you a martini be over.
Martini.
He loves the espresso martini.
I would never drink one of those.
Where's the cocktail server?
Doug, what's the girliest drink you have? Doug will have 3.
You have a coconut blossom? Yeah.
Coconut
Yeah,
blossom.
Doug means
Blossom.
3. Yeah, I think it's on the menu at California Pizza Kitchen. I'm not saying I've ever tasted it.
So Doug Polk coming in for the straddle on this hand.
I mean, it's the internet.
It wasn't like whiskey. It wasn't Jack Daniels.
Doug Polk quickly becoming one of the biggest names in poker with the success of his YouTube channel. Very talented player. Several years ago, he was considered probably the best or one of the best heads-up no-limit hold'em players in the world. He's still up there, but currently on Timeshares, which is Timex's website, it has Jungleman as a pretty decent favorite over Polk in the 50K heads-up challenge that's coming up in a couple weeks, Poker Night in America. So we have 4 players going to this flop.
I sort of got game is weak. My sock game is probably like the worst.
Wow, look at that flop.
4-4-5, and what a flop for GI.
GI continuing to play hands, flops the world here. Be interesting to see what's going to happen here. Deeb, though, with the ace of hearts in his hand. Looks like GI is going to fire out 3,500 to about 4,900, so almost, 75%, 80% pot. Kasella contemplating, continuing with his top pair. No kicker.
Doug Polk trying to fold there. He's not sure if one of his cards flashed. Shaun Deeb gets out of the way, so we got Kasella, who has top pair, but GI has a monster draw here with the 6-7 hearts.
No one's going to call you a pussy for folding. Imagine if that was like a 5. Like,
Turn him over?
Yeah.
Oh, we saw a raise. Kasella raised here from the big blind to 8,000. Went ahead and
Oh,
got
wow.
all the
So,
chips
yeah,
in.
the 2 players get it all in here. Now, Kasella's ahead, but he's actually more than a 2-to-1 dog here against the 6-7 of hearts of GI. And right now, the player's talking whether they want to run it once or twice. Are there any deals will be made?
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. That's an insane draw here, man.
It doesn't matter to me.
One,
Run
once
once
or
or
twice.
twice. One done.
One it is.
One done.
One and done.
One and done.
Greg, you are so dead here.
Looks like they're running it one time.
Doug
Again,
Polk's telling Kasella he's dead. Oh, and the
turns him
3
dead.
of hearts on the turn.
He's dead.
That's a straight flush. Players having fun with that one. River card doesn't matter, and GI takes it down.
I'm sure he's happy that they decided to run that one once.
Nice hand. Was that the turn card you were rooting for?
That was awesome. How often do you see that?
Close. You were really close. You were right there.
I mean, he only got there twice.
You only got there my straight loss. Only both cards won.
That was awesome. I mean, I would rather won. It's still cool.
It's cool that you lost your straight. You didn't lose like a pair of 6s. Like, like I got stacked, man. I got stacked. Not 2 pair with deuce kicker versus no straight flush.
I thought he had a flush.
And now you can say
So GI making some back. I believe he's still stuck a little bit in this game. At this point, Kasella has to be stuck as well.
Don't forget I had the deuce.
I had the deuce 5.
Famous last words, right?
I was
right,
just gonna say, it was the wrong suit though.
I know. 5,000 chips in there.
Okay.
Callie here with 2 9s in the cutoff is going to raise it up to 700.
Macaulay learned his lesson last time with the pocket kings. He's saying, you know what, I got a pretty decent pair now. I'm going to raise it up this time instead of limping in.
700.
Polk defends the ace-6 offsuit.
I mean, you're wide, man.
I'm wide?
Yeah, you're wide.
Ace-king-jack, bad flop for pocket 9s, top pair for Polk.
I think when it's 2 dudes, it's no longer man spreading. maybe it still is, I don't know.
Polk continues to check. There are now 3 spades on the board. Polk with no spades.
Interesting bet by Macaulay here on the turn. He picks up a spade draw, but he's kind of turning his hand into a bluff here. I'm not sure. What would you do here, Kane? Would you bet or would you check behind?
Yeah, I would have just checked behind with Macaulay's hand. I'm surprised that he bet.
If he bets turn, he pretty much has to follow through on most rivers, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he chooses not to. He quickly checks back the river.
I mean, at that point, you're targeting weak king X and even ace X to fold. So it doesn't make much sense just to bet the turn and then give up river when you're turning 9s into a bluff there.
Sorry, 6. We're doing a count. 70,000.
Yeah, so Macaulay burns a C bet on the turn there, where probably he should have considered checking back, but Doug Polk takes down a nice little size pot.
You guys are both up 400.
I'm down 2,000, Matt. Or two.
Doug Polk announcing that he's down 2,000 right now. That's not a lot in this game, Doug.
He also bought in for 3 times more than everyone else at the table, so take that with what you will.
Here's GI with pocket jacks under the gun. The good thing about playing aggressively when you don't have it is when you have a hand like this, people might not give you credit. He raises it up over to Vito.
Jack 7 of hearts here. A little loose in the cutoff versus an undergun raise, but
pretty loose, but it's a fun-looking hand.
GI has been shown to be playing a lot of hands, so.
Pocket 9s for Deeb. Do you expect a 3-bet here or a flat out of the big blind?
I imagine he's going to squeeze here.
I am up.
Wow.
Just a call.
Interesting. Wonder what he's thinking there.
3 ways to the flop. There's a 9 for Deeb. Bad news for GI. Checks over to Vito Recimurzo, who bets here. Now Deeb contemplating whether he wants to just flat with another player behind or whether he wants to raise it up right here. He does just call.
I think he calls there because he wants to keep GI in the hand.
Well, it worked out. GI reaching for chips with his pocket jacks. He's saying,
it worked out.
I'm not going anywhere.
If I'm Deeb and I didn't squeeze pre-flop and I'm just flatting, and GI checks this flop, I actually might be more inclined to raise because GI has been betting all of his pairs and been very aggressive with any hands that has value. So when he checked this flop after raising under the gun,
you would think that GI is probably going to fold.
Correct. So at that point, you know, I might be thinking to check raise more when Recimurzo fires out.
So it goes check through on the turn. Now if you're Deeb, do we lead out or do we go for a check raise on this river?
I like going for the check raise versus most players, but that just depends. We're 3 ways, and I got to really determine if Vito is gonna take a stab 3 ways here when he missed on the flop.
Well, it does go check, check. It's over to Vito. It looks like he's having nefarious thoughts here.
And he is going to bet. Question is, will it be big enough versus someone that, you know, he's targeting the hands that make it hard to call with, maybe just a single 9. Obviously, we know Deeb has second nuts here, third nuts, 9's full of 5s.
There's a bluff, a little bit less than half pot, pretty small size bluff. And if you noticed when Vito made that bet, his hand was kind of covering his mouth. Some people will say that that's a tell of weakness. We'll wait and see if that's something that he does all the time or just when he has jack high. I think Deeb is going to raise here. I'd be surprised if Deeb just called to try to get GI to call behind. He does say all in, and that's a huge bet.
Wow. GI taking his time here.
Guy puts his hand in the muck. He's not happy about it. Vito just trying to save a little face here. Taking a couple seconds before he will muck his hand as well. Shaun Deeb takes down a big one.
Very big raise there, going all in. I mean, Vito looks like he has about 26, 27,000 behind, so, you know, it wasn't as much as Deeb having 60, but still a very big raise, almost 3 times pot raise on the river.
Just remember, if anything bad happens to you, you can blame it on Frank not being here and changing destiny.
So players back to limping here.
You did? I said, what's this dude doing? We're on White Sox. I don't know White Sox. Did you post that or you just think it?
Not GI. He has the old King 7 offsuit, and he's saying, I'm going to be aggressive here. He raises it up. Vito Recimurzo makes the call with 10-jack offsuit. Back over to Polk with pocket deuces. He calls. And Deeb will get away. So we got 3 players going to this flop. Polk in position. Seven, 10 queen. Recimurzo takes the lead there with middle pair. GI with bottom pair. And we've seen GI bet his bottom pairs before. Interesting that he now goes ahead and checks the King 7.
Last 2 hands, we saw him with Queen 8 offsuit take a stab, bet the flop, and then he just check called the river and lost to King 10. And then last hand, he plays jacks, checks the flop with the second pair, and then this hand again, he flops bottom pair after squeezing pre-flop and just decides to check it again. So a little all over the place.
On the turns of 4, he checks. Vito Recimurzo now saying, you know what, I think I have the best hand. He takes a stab, but it's a really small bet. That's 900 into 5,800.
I think Doug's thinking about maybe turning his hand into a bluff here. Or maybe just calling. Interesting.
Well, what Doug is thinking is it's such a small bet relative to the size of the pot that, you know, he might as well continue with basically everything, you know, in case Recimurzo happens to have a straight draw of some kind. Maybe deuces are good. Maybe GI will fold behind. I'm sure that's what is going through Doug's mind. Let's check on the river. That's the 3rd spade. And now Doug may be thinking of turning his pocket deuces into a bluff. This is, in fact, one of the worst hands he'll get to the river with both these players checking. It's unlikely that they happen to make a straight or a flush on the river. Those are both in Doug's range. He does turn his hand into a bluff. He makes a nice little bet here. GI quickly getting away, and Recimurzo almost beats him into the pot.
he asks him how much as he's stacking his chips in the middle there and decides to take him back and turn over his hand. Doug says, I don't think deuces are going to be good here. Vito asks how much the bet is before putting his chips in the pot, turning over his hand.
You don't ever have ace either?
Rarely. He had the best jack.
Shaun Deeb asking Doug why he chose to lit that money on fire. Doug explaining, well, I had a spade in my hand, and I was pretty much at the bottom of my range.
Yeah, so for the jack high call, you know?
I have the blocker.
That was the key block.
It was close. He seemed like he was on the fence there. What do you do?
Folded around to the button this hand. Deeb's going to open it up here with ace-6 hearts. GI continuing to play hands, calling from the small blind with King 3. Freedman also going to come along in the big blind with queen 7.
Four, 9, 10. Not much going on for anybody here on this board.
I imagine it's going to check to Deeb, and he's going to take a stab here with backdoor hearts and likely take it down.
No,
checks
he
through.
doesn't. He checks. This is a board where you expect the small blind and big blind, after they call, to have a decent amount of hands that they can continue with. That could be why Deeb checked back the flop.
What's it? 9,500. Yeah, it was solid. Yeah. I was hoping for a little more tanky than that, but yeah. I wouldn't tank. What are you gonna do? Some scary stuff out there. What? Yeah, some flaws, 2 pairs and whatnot. Yeah.
Under pairs.
Under pairs, right? You always got
a lot of under pairs on that board.
So many.
So right now, Shaun Deeb, the biggest winner at this table so far. Doug Polk down, GI down. Frank Kasella down a bit. Is that 8-4 offsuit for Deeb here?
Yeah, it's been folded around. He's going to steal the blinds, it looks like.
It's a pretty loose open for Shaun Deeb here. Freedman with the king 10 offsuit folds. Oh, he called, and then Macaulay 3-bet the pocket queen. So after just limping earlier with the pocket kings, Macaulay has changed his strategy here. He raised the pocket 9s earlier, and this time he 3-bet with the pocket queens, and that's good enough to take it down. I'm surprised to see Deeb open that weak of a hand. I think what happened is GI was missing from the table, so it was a dead button, so Deeb was essentially assuming the button position.
Yes.
But still, with how loose this table has been playing, I probably wouldn't be opening the 8-4 offsuit.
No, I just let 8-4 go there on the button. Even into 2 players there, 5-handed. I think there are better hands that we can be stealing the blinds with there.
Well, here we got Doug Polk in on the straddle. We got Deeb raising up the pocket 5s. Freedman just calling with pocket queens, and now Doug Polk, ace-jack suited. Polk with a 3-bet. Pretty large size here, 4,500. They are pretty deep stacked here, and Deeb thinking, you know, with pocket 5s, 3,300 more, can I continue?
Interesting. They were only 5-handed, I believe, to start this hand in a straddle pot. Doug's been straddling all of his hands since starting up this live stream. And we see Freeman just flat in the cutoff 5-handed. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a back raise here by Freeman. But it appears he's just going to take the call and go 3 ways here with pocket queens.
Interesting choice to just flat there. You know that Doug Polk has a wider than average 3-bet frequency. You're only about 125 big blinds deep. I'm surprised we didn't see Freedman come back over the top there. But we don't, and we now see Polk flop top pair on a real dicey board.
Polk takes a check, and it checks behind. That's really interesting there with Freedman. Freeman ahead on the turn.
And that turn may save Doug Polk here. He doesn't know it. He's probably not too happy about that turn.
Freeman looks like he bet 12,000 here.
That's a huge bet.
It's a 13-8. Almost full pot. Very huge.
He'll win the pot, and Freedman getting a little bit less money than he would have, perhaps if he chose to go ahead and bet the flop, but nonetheless taking it down.
Was it bad service or you didn't like the food? Or?
I think I don't feel good.
Oh.
You have to 35,000. It looks beauty and ethics.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the pawn shop.
Yeah, I got
that works. There's so many cool restaurants in there.
Yeah.
Kaleo is
very
really good.
SDK.
Yeah.
Looks like may have forgotten to move the button here.
That I believe the players assumed the big blind here after being away, so Doug gets to actually straddle twice.
Again.
Yeah, I'm sure he's loving that. Folds around to the small blind. He's just going to complete in the straddle for 400. And Kasella lets his jack suit offsuit go.
Southwest up to Summerlin.
Up to summer. Not having
What? I like my part of town. He likes Hendon.
But he doesn't have kids.
Honestly,
so ask someone who's had 5 kids.
So I don't think the schools are good in the Green Valley area.
School Frank did go to.
Yeah. So
All right. Well, whatever.
Well, you gonna private school or public school?
Private school.
Yeah.
Two
I mean,
kids.
yeah. But I mean, I'll tell you when we're off topic stuff as far as what school he goes to.
I missed the original pancake house
Definitely
they
one
used
of
to
the
have
best
at
schools
the
you can go
Green
to.
Valley.
We
go to original pancake.
Yeah. They can do
That's me and Frank's. Frank, he just brought for our breakfast spot. Well, there used to be 3 with
So again, if you're just tuning into the stream, this is a 100, 200 no limit hold'em cash game, a minimum buy-in of $50,000. Every player at this table is in for the minimum of $50,000, with the exception of Doug Polk, who bought in for $150,000. We're broadcasting on a 30-minute delay here from the Hollywood Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. The SHRPO tournament series that was here just finished up a couple of days ago. And now it's time for Poker Night in America high-stakes cash games. They'll be playing this game today, tomorrow, and Saturday as well. I'll be doing the commentary today, and I'll be playing in this game both tomorrow and Saturday. Deeb raising up the king-queen suited under the gun. And here comes Vito, actually Merzio, 3-betting the ace-jack after Freedman called. It seems like Freedman is not really looking to 3-bet too many hands at all. Just flatting pre-flop with the queens, now with the ace-queen. Deeb saying, let's take a flop, and Freedman coming along with the dominating ace-queen. So 3 players going to the flop, and this is the second time Freedman has just called the 3-bet with a hand that dominates everybody else. But Shaun Deeb continuing to outflop this table.
Also, like, as a poker player, having a lot of your money tied up in assets is kind of like shitty. Yeah. It's nice to be able to have money to fire, you know? How am I supposed to put...
Vito continuing here for 3,200.
Yeah. How am I supposed to put Shaun's kids through school if I'm money?
Is this a board you'd see bet? Kane, 3 ways here after isolating.
If I were the pre-flop 3-better with ace-jack, I think I'd check back this board.
Sure.
Yeah.
Freedman quickly folds his ace-queen with the ace of hearts. He could have considered making a raise here.
I get it, too. By the way, I live near Eastern right now. I do. So I know what you're saying. But, like, the Seven Hills area, when you're not on Eastern, is nice, right? So it's like, it's okay.
Deeb checks. Back over to Vito. Checks behind.
You're gonna have to deal with Eastern in the area.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You want to live up on that quiet little hillside and overlook the valley, you got to tolerate. And I mean, it's not an unfair trade-off. That's just advice that, like, I would have appreciated before.
River's a board pairing 9. I imagine Deeb's going to go for some value here. Probably in the 6,000 to 7,000 range. What do you think?
Now the area that I'm in right now is
Imagine that Deeb will be betting somewhere around half the size of the pot.
And he does.
It's like a $6,000 bet.
Yeah.
On the west, you really can't build it up that much.
Definitely.
We're kind of already at the end of it.
Which
And
is
it
why
still only takes 12 minutes to get to the Rio, or 16 minutes to get to the airport. Everything is really close. Just lucky that that mountain's there, and the highway goes right through everything.
Yeah, that's the 215 is really convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, if they had to do it all over again, that's what Eastern would do.
What's Vito thinking about here?
Yeah, the
I
amount
think
of
he's
traffic
contemplating a
goes-
raise.
It's not okay.
Again, it
It's like,
put his hand over his mouth and then quickly readjusted it to his arm there. Did you
I
catch
can't
that?
imagine he's thinking. I think he might be thinking about calling. Maybe he's wondering if Deeb called the flop with hearts, for example, or a hand like 10 Jack or
Yeah.
Queen 10, Jack
Yeah.
Queen.
Based on his body language, it looks like he's just contemplating a call now. He's counting his stack, seeing how much he'd be left with.
I mean, Vito having a Jack in his hand makes it less likely that his opponent did flop a gut shot.
But he has no hearts in his hand, so that's one thing to consider when considering a hero call here on the river.
To the Rio, the train tracks go. So
unlike the side roads.
yeah, so if you take the back road, you just have to go to the Orleans.
Yeah.
So it goes around, or
That
you
gets a
take
little
the,
tricky. Yeah, you got to know. Living
not
there after a
Sinatra,
while.
but the one on
Yeah,
the
no
left
snap call this time by Vito.
I don't know why they haven't fixed it.
Well, I think they need to build a bridge over it for the
Right,
road.
but I mean, still, you would think that.
Yeah.
I mean, in most cities, I think they would have heard.
They would have, especially with the development. But
Right.
you know, all the cabbies know how to do it.
They'll probably do it when they build the Raiders Street.
That's true.
Because it's going to be right there in that area.
You know, you've been in Vegas too much if you have to tell the Uber drivers how to avoid the strip, like and how to.
I
how to
love
get around.
when you get like a, well, back in the day when people had to take taxis, it hasn't happened to me in a couple of years, but you're like a local, you're like, all right, we're going here, and they start going the other way, and they're like, hey, you want to go to the massage parlor? I'm
After
like,
almost 2 full minutes, 3 minutes of thought, Vito finally lets it go.
Past 15, I'm like, where are we going? I'm like, oh, I thought you said you want to go to the massage parlor. I'm like, no, no one said that. You said that. I don't want to take.
I had an Uber driver complaining because they wouldn't give him the vig on bringing people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he wanted to get the cabbie deal for the for the clubs.
Look, I mean,
Was that before or after he dropped you off?
Well, if you're driving Uber in Vegas, you should have at least 4 or 5, revenue streams.
Yeah.
Liquor stores,
Exactly.
massage parlors. I mean, you got to do it right.
Look, there are definitely good cabbies out there, but I've had a lot of really bad experiences in cabs, and I'm quite happy.
Uber's
a thing.
GI limping in with the Queen 3 of clubs. Likes to play hands.
A little on the looser side under the gun, I'd say.
Yes, but the table has been limping a lot. We haven't seen too many isolation squeezes or any real big 3-bets. Multiple players behind have just been calling with big hands, with like queens and kings even, from
There
under the gun +1.
Here comes Vito, who's been pretty aggressive at this table, raising it up, but he's made his raise size pretty small here, just $500.
I always hate when people take stuff out of the dealer. It's like, what did the dealer do?
Well,
It's like,
a lot of them have retired, but the
except for
old time,
Mauricio here, he just
the
constantly.
old time PLO players would just like toss the cards. And
Oh yeah.
Grumpy, and it's
When
like,
people throw the cards, it's just like the
Deeb
most
out flopping everyone again.
Why did you do that?
He's got the most equity 3-ways here that open into straight draw. I'd imagine he actually is considering taking the lead here.
slow the game down. The worst thing
He is, he's carving out chips. That's 1,000. This should get through, but Vito Rechimurzio has been pretty sticky. He does let it go in this spot, though.
Macadamia nut pancakes are actually pretty good at the original pancake house in Hawaii. That was the first one I went to. My
You don't
brother
get a gift of
taught
that.
me the wonders of
He was? Okay.
OTK.
Yeah, deal it
Two of
to
them in
next time,
Honolulu.
guys.
Either
Deal it to.
plays in talk time?
I'm ready to play. I've been in knit for like at least 4 hands.
You were on the button the last time you both out. It's 5 and 7.
It's been an orbit.
I've been in knit since I, yeah, I'll take another one. And 3 more.
So currently it's been all Shaun Deeb at this table. Just seems to win the pot every time he enters it.
That's awesome. Oh, we only get a 45-minute break. We need to order food in. We do that most stuff.
Yeah, you know, when it's an important skill to have.
Food's very important to me and Matt, so it gets taken care of. Me as well. Lots of tomatoes. No.
It can't hurt.
Good fold. Really opened it up.
Thank you. I just felt like we skipped our first. Is ace 10 really good in the button? I mean, is it, you know?
We haven't talked about that.
Deeb raises to 600. GI calls. I'm surprised Deeb didn't make it a little bit larger with the ace queen with how frequently GI's been defending. Not a very good flop for Deeb. GI up and down here.
Just so you know, ace 10 would not have been good on the button.
That was a solid fold for me. Oh, I would have paired.
GI gets one through here against Shaun Deeb.
Might have lost some more money over.
That was a really fun sentence. You might have won or lost.
But more money would have won. I very rarely would chop.
That's crazy. I would have won or lost. Got the profit over here.
Good thing you bought in for 150. It offsets some of the losses.
I just want to be able to double up at least a couple people, you know. Or if someone doubles up, they still can double up again.
Yeah.
Deeb currently mocking Doug Polk for buying in for 150. Polk saying he was in the mood to double a couple people up. Just wanted to have enough to afford that.
The double-double? He's opening up a hand. Good job, guys.
Folds to Polk here in the cutoff. We'll see if his little philosophy comes true here and if he can double someone up this hand.
Shaun Deeb, not the kind of player who likes to fold his 10-7 suited on the button. GI, certainly not the kind of player who likes to fold his Jack-Queen offsuit in the small blind. He raises it up to 2,100.
10-7 suited on the button, too. I'd normally throw into more of a 3-bet candidate hand, wouldn't you, Kane?
I would, but Shaun Deeb is much more of a loose player pre-flop than he is an aggressive player. I've played on this show with Shaun Deeb many times, and he just likes to kind of see flops and put himself in situations to make reads as the hand develops. And we can see him defending the 10-7 suited here. Top pair for GI.
Looks like he's going to bet his top pair this time. Pretty large, about half the size of the pot, 2,600. Been going back and forth with his middle and bottom pairs, whether or not electing to bet them or check.
And Deeb losing back-to-back pots. Can you believe it?
Say you can't squeeze the aces. That's the worst thing. Not the decks here. Just always see it's an ace right away.
I don't even know how to squeeze.
I'm gonna teach you one day.
There's another reason to play mixed games. I had a 3-sider. I'm like, that's a cool story.
Doug has beat me heads up. He's a great Mexican player. He's refused to play anything besides.
Folds to Freeman again, the small blind. This is a straddled pot, but he just calls with his ace-8 offsuit. Usually a hand I'd probably be raising from the small blind here unopened in a straddled pot. But we've seen Freeman playing pretty passively, not wanting to 3-bet pre with premiums, and just liking to see flops as cheaply as possible. So, understandable.
We started at 6-12, right? And you're playing 2K, 4K by the end of the like 2 weeks later? What happens?
Yeah.
I can't believe I stayed up another 3 hours or whatever that was.
After I left?
Not after you.
Oh my God.
And to those of you in chat, all audio adjustments are subject to our 30-minute delay.
They just sat there playing games on his It's a great game. You'd love it.
Good times.
Trying to improve my Clash game.
It gets kicked off fairly, every 3 hours if there's like 2 or 3 people that are like
Really stuck?
needing it.
Yeah, I see. It's always good to bump it up when you're stuck.
Do you teach that on the as
Yeah,
a
of course.
coaching
No,
bankroll
absolutely.
management
That's the thing
strategy?
about mixed compared to no limit. It's so much easier to kick up games.
Yes.
Like
That is true.
big bet almost never gets kicked up. Like it'll just be like a straddle,
Yeah, that's true.
But mix, it's like limits will vary throughout the session, all the time.
Plus, you're only playing 8 hands a game, so.
Right.
Shaun Deeb trying to talk Doug Polk into playing mixed games with him.
Me and
Green Hippo in the chat. Yes, this is live. We are live in South Florida right now at the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood. We're on a 30-minute delay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Who was I watching? I guess I was watching Rob and somebody play that.
This
Doug Polk continuing to straddle here. He's the only player at the table who's straddling.
I got the idea, but like they only had 2 or 3 versions to choose from. We got like 4 or 5.
They had 3, I think. That would be fun.
We can maybe play it on our flight.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Play Shaun Deeb heads up. Open things, just for fun.
For those of you wondering the value of the chips at the table, the black chips are $100 denominated chips. The purples are $500. The yellows are 1K chips, and then there are cranberry color chips. Those are the 5K birds.
That's worth it. Definitely worth it. Although I did win a Chinese poker tournament.
Deeb raising up the ace-10 under the gun. Doug Polk determining whether he wants to just call or 3-bet the Jack-10 suited in his straddle here.
I like sacred boards. I don't know why.
Looks like he's leaning towards 3-betting. He does, and Deeb lets go the best hand.
The 1.5 fantasy draft.
You don't know what it is?
We have a
He does
hand?
Chinese
Yeah.
tournament for that.
Oh, what's the hand?
What hand do we always say when we're playing hands over? Ace 10.
You guys have like I know
Secret.
That was a hand. It wasn't. It was definitely a secret. I didn't know. Oh.
That's how you keep a secret.
Speak English.
Don't even tell the other guy.
Russian table is always good.
We got this secret between us we've kept for years.
Secret?
Because I didn't have to tell him.
Probably the only way to keep a secret with Doug. He
That's
can't
what I'm
keep it.
saying. You really want to keep it a secret.
Friedman limping in with the Jack
In
8
high
suited
school,
here
I
for
had my
200.
best buddy, he just like one day like,
Double
didn't come to
checking his
school,
cards multiple
and
times.
He had my backpack in his car.
I'm going to see Vito
So
isolate the
basically,
button
he
here.
Just like left town for 2 weeks, not saying anything to me with my backpack. So all my school, everything. And every day at school, people be like, "Hey Doug, where's Chris at?"
And he's
I'm
going to
like,
have the
"I don't know."
dominating
Like,
hand here
sure.
going to the flop in
Except for me,
position.
'cause I actually didn't know and didn't have my stuff.
So everyone was in control back then. So this is nothing new.
Ace Queen
This is before
3.
you kept your bankroll in
Vito
your
likely to
backpack.
take this down with how
Yeah,
passive
I didn't have
Freedman's
any
been playing.
bankroll,
This is a couple weeks ago.
And he does. Just that.
Yeah, in high school. Bitcoin's been going up, so I have money again. That's nice.
Just hold
Both
3
Bitcoin.
coins.
What's up?
All 3 of your coins.
All 3 coins.
GI here looks like he's joining Doug here with the
new
straddle.
game of, like, insult how poor the guy who bought in for the most is.
We know he's looking to play hands, so
You're so broke.
this will give him an opportunity to play this hand
That's a very
more
good
so
point.
than normal.
That's a very good point. I'm just down stuck.
That happened
the
over
normal.
You're winning in
That was
some
the
ways.
Sherlock
Kings.
term. The
I was up by 2K. Yeah. I'm just running the mill garden.
Peek down.
I'm garden variety stuck right now. Just your.
Peek down. That's Gwence's term for upstuck.
So Vito raises it up here to 900. GI with 8-5 suited in the big blind will defend.
It's great because I wasn't sure if I was gonna get another one, but now I don't have choice.
Again, Vito with a small raise size here. The straddle was 400 and he only raised to 900. We saw him isolate over a limp earlier that was only 200 to a raise size of 500. So very small isolation raises pre-flop.
You were still on the previous beer, buddy.
When GI's been proven to show that he's willing to call and put chips in pre-flop. So I'm surprised Deeb and Vito are not adjusting and raising larger.
GI's been flopping some serious draws here. Here he has middle pair with a flush draw.
We know who you look like.
Whatever. I'm okay.
We know who you look like. You can't leave it at that.
I mean,
we all know what the joke is.
Yeah.
3, will Vito fire again? It looks like it.
Very quickly too.
You were involved in jokes.
There's a meme. There's a meme.
Quickly and aggressively putting out the 3,500 in chips, and I can't imagine that GI is going to be looking to go anywhere here on this turn.
That's a pretty public one.
Talking about the something about Mary's hairdo.
I haven't seen something about Mary.
Really?
Is there a faux hawk in there?
I mean, there's some. How he gets the.
Does GI have cranberries behind his
He
yellow
has
there?
one, I believe. Yes, I saw it earlier when he was counting out chips. He has one cranberry behind. Little deceiving
Maybe he's been
there.
learning from Alec Torelli. There's the check.
Goes check, check.
But then you suffer on both fronts.
GI takes it down with a rivered flush.
I think flush is gonna win. That's my hunch.
That's your call.
Yeah.
Couldn't really slow roll back.
No.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my God, ring makes you look more intimidating. I mean,
It does.
It does.
Wait till we get the tattoo.
The problem is
Here we have Freedman on the straddle.
Looks like the players might have agreed to a round or for everyone to start straddling 400. A little surprising.
That's just wrong.
We got a really great friendly environment going here today. Insult people and then everyone at the table laughs. It's real nice and friendly.
That's not what poker's always like.
It's what happens when you start drinking at 3 p.m.
I know.
You gotta get out of line every time.
I don't usually play poker at quiet tables for long.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun drinking this summer at events.
Oh God, yeah, we did. That was tons of fun. That night we ordered that opus.
Looks like no straddle this hand from Dew,
So much effort.
who calls under the gun.
We had tons of friends.
Lots of limping again.
Oh, you got a glass?
We knew, no, we knew.
Can't imagine Doug's going to be limping this hand.
Okay.
Too strong.
Damn it.
Doug taking it down.
Aces again?
Not quite, but
I would have called 12.
King, part of king.
I saw paint.
it was a very strong hand. I had a very strong hand.
Took king.
Doug not happy to just pick up that pot pre-flop.
Good thing we weren't playing 7 deuce.
You would have been for a ride.
It's not good for the TV show.
Every player at this table is in for $50,000, except for Doug Polk, who bought in for $150,000.
Like when it's on, when it's off. Like, it's probably decent for a live stream because they're more like non-casual fans. They know that game.
Yeah, definitely. I really like how Poker Night makes it like friendly for like very casual people. Yeah. You know, just nice and simple. Like this is
Good show. They keep it on TV all the time when we're at the bar where we play darts.
Oh,
We
yeah?
should go play darts.
I've never played
Friedman
darts.
again, just calling from the small blind here, unopened in a straddled pot. King
You
10.
don't have to learn like exactly the rules and everything.
You throw.
And Vito's going to take notice of that and raise to 1,500 from his option here in the straddle.
Yeah, but you'll figure it right
And Vito continuing to play pretty aggressively here at this table. He does flop top pair. Checks behind.
I like
turn.
the check back by Vito there. He squeezes from the big, especially versus, a player like Freedman, who's shown to have been pretty passive.
Yeah.
We can't really bet and expect, any worse hands to call us. And, very dry board.
I know. It's another sport. Yeah.
All
Alright, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yeah, you got it.
What is the most popular sport game in the world? Soccer.
Popular
It's gotta
what
be.
game?
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
It
Was
has
that
to be soccer.
true? The
Or
2026
football in most
World
languages.
Cup might be in Vegas?
I don't
Or is that somebody making something up?
I would definitely go to that.
World Cup is. I almost went to Brazil, but it's always in the World Series. Like,
I mean, I guess it would
World
be
Cup is like
okay.
supposed to be one of the best party times ever.
Box Jelly 101 in the chat. This is a 9-handed table. We're currently playing with 7 players today.
If my
We'll be back again tomorrow and Saturday as well for full day of action cash games. Kane Kalas will be playing.
I mean, the game is just so boring. As someone that doesn't know soccer, it just seems really boring to me.
It's more action than baseball. No, it's not.
I was really excited to see where that section was going. I was like, there are a lot of things he can't say. And he even was gonna say something. You see the wheels, like, don't say that. And he was like, horrible on baseball.
With that mustache, you would expect something like that from him.
So Kasella flops top pair here. Do you like his check as a pre-flop raiser, or would you have expected him to put a bet out here with top pair?
I'd usually expect him to put a bet out here 4 ways. I mean, the board's pretty dry.
Oh, I'm sorry, they just adjusted the thing. It does look like Kasella did bet the flop.
Okay.
Friedman called, and then Vito made a very loose call behind with just a pair of 7s.
I'm a risk character. I'm come chuck though.
Closing the action can be argued against. You know, he has a lot of back doors. He can turn 2 pairs and trips, and you know, maybe even turn his hand into a bluff.
Ace 10. Ace 10 beats my 10.
Frank Kasella takes down a nice pot there against Friedman.
Probably on par with this table.
I figured it was good. I had the question in my voice just.
Yeah, when I'm Vito there and I see Kasella c-bet and Freeman call, I might continue with my 7-6 there because Kasella could have anything. He could be c-betting ace-king, other ace-highs, random broadways that are just, you know, c-betting with back doors. And we know Freeman's pretty passive and willing to give up on a lot of turns. So we could potentially get Freeman off a weak 10 on later streets, or even just turn the best hand.
Then it's gonna be frowned upon.
But you want to continue
with 7-6 then Vito's spot. He's closing the action 3 ways on 10-7.
even though you think it's likely that Friedman has a better hand than yours.
It's possible, yeah. I might play to outplay Freeman on a later street.
I'm trying to help you with the slow roll situation.
Nice.
You think it's better to just call there instead of just simply raising the flop?
You could raise the flop too. I'd like that actually better than calling. Not an option that we considered.
He's already demonstrated that he doesn't.
Deeb again, flopping top set against Polk.
Yeah, not a bad flop for pocket 10s, huh?
You don't say. Oh.
Both of them. Is that a reasonable hand to go after your straddle with?
That's fair.
Doug Polk pre-flop approved.
See, the thing is, when you raise, I'm like, this could just be the like nothing burger, you know? Like, under the gun, open it up with the old king 9, or with the king deuce suited.
I would open king deuce suited.
Exactly.
Probably curl. Does that sound good with you guys?
What is it?
Curl, the Japanese placer.
Sure. Yeah. I'm in for whatevs.
That's where I hit 8 last night. Let's do. Yeah. I've had 2 meals there so far. All been good.
It's actually it's quite good. I ate there a couple days ago too.
Tomorrow I'll try the steak place.
I like it as well.
Those veggies look good.
The restaurant.
Wow, GI with a big raise here with the pocket 4s.
I believe he had pocket 4s too about 30 minutes ago. I believe it was him, and he decided to limp it. So interesting seeing him raise this now in a straddle pot.
I mean, I'm a station, but I'm not that much of a station.
He's been involved in 2 or 3 hands recently and just had to check fold. So maybe he just wanted to throw in some aggression there. He was getting a little bored.
He takes it to another level sometimes. A level that I'm not capable of. A level that I don't know if anyone else is capable of.
I can't wait for you.
A level that no one should be capable of.
Well, he did say like he plays a different style that no one else plays, and he has proven that.
Proven that. The Jack 5 hand is probably the most insane thing I've ever heard of.
What was that?
He called down 3 streets with Jack 5 on like an ace king queen X board.
Ace king queen 4 deuce. Got to know your opponent, right? The 5.
So is this a straddle or a raise?
I think it
is a straddle.
Yeah.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Pairs for both Deeb and GI. This time electing to lead his middle pair. Likely to get this through as Deeb notices a marked card.
You are like really sharp on that. It's really easy with these glossy backs and this light. Okay. You just pay attention, you'll see like anything that the lights will make it very clear.
That's good. I mean, I'm always down for less marked cards. Or more. You know, or more. Or less, or as long as I know.
You see it? But I'm just saying, if 26 of them are marked,
you're like, sure.
Yeah, we're still okay.
All right, so he's got half the deck.
No, it's a different one. Figure out that and memorize those 26 cards. You deserve an edge.
To you.
Well, sorry, I
Seems like that's a lot of
I don't want to.
Sorry, what just happened?
I was trying to like show him exactly where the mark was. Weird, I have the queen of diamonds and everyone knows.
I don't want to show anyone, but it's right here.
And when I have players like Polk and Deeb behind me on the button and the small blind who are likely to 3-bet, you know, I might not be sizing that small. That makes them more inclined to 3-bet me with a higher frequency. You know, it feels like I'll be lighting $500 on fire pretty often that way. I'd be willing to wager whenever Vito picks up a premium here that he'll go maybe 600 or 700. I believe earlier when the stream first started up, we saw him open to 700. So interesting sizes here going on.
There's Doug Polk just limping the ace-7. Or I'm sorry, he raises it up. It's tough to see the color of those chips. And now Deeb continuing with his strategy of playing a lot of buttons here loose on his button, calling the 5-8 suited. Deeb continuing to outflop his opponents, flopping middle pair here with a backdoor flush draw. Doug Polk now deciding if he wants ace-7 offsuit to be in his c-betting range here.
Did the board, was it on the board or did you in your hand?
Does fire 2/3 pot.
I think I've seen straight flush over straight flush a couple times, but it's like when there's 4 on the board and then
Deeb calls with middle pair. We go to a turn. Jack of clubs. Doug Polk picking up a straight draw, but not a great one.
We still had 2 royal flushes in one lap of the table.
It counts?
It was weird though. I can't even imagine what the odds of that were.
Wasn't the same guy, right?
No, different players.
That's called collusion.
Something right.
Interesting that Doug Polk continued to fire there. Would you have played Polk's hand the way that he did on the flop and turn?
No, I don't think so. I think that's one of the worst turns there for our hand to be barreling against Deeb with. I think there's a lot of 10x hands that will continue. 9-10, Jack-10, all of those hands that call the flop are beating us and are definitely not going to fold the turn. And it's going to be really hard to get Deeb to fold that hand on the river too. So I think ace-7 I'm just giving up there on the turn a lot.
Yeah, I also expect Deeb to have hands that pair the jack in his range, like Jack-Queen, as you said, Jack-10, and also Queen-10. But if you know how loose Deeb calls on his button, there are probably lots of other hands like the ones that he had that are in his range, and that must have been what Doug Polk was thinking.
Isn't it just like... Speed of the play.
Camaraderie. It's just so much more fun.
Actually interesting spots.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, 16 blinds. You're like, oh, this jam.
Yeah.
Deeb raising it up with the 5-7 of hearts, and now GI just calling with ace-king, and Freedman just calling with pocket queens.
Again, from the small blind, just showing no aggression whatsoever, going big pair.
Really interesting spot we have here. 5 players going to the flop. Queen
wow,
currently
queen
ahead
in
and
the
a
queen in the window. And look at that, bottom 2 pairs for Vito here in the straddle. This could get ugly.
This is bad news for Vito.
And Vito doesn't have that many chips right now.
He leads out, and Deeb is now up and down with a backdoor flush draw.
8 o'clock they won. Maybe. I didn't win that 6 max, by the way. I got second.
Oh, sorry.
Unfair. Unfair. It's actually a great deal. It'll be like, yeah, that 6 max you won. Then you have to.
Do you think that Freedman is going to call here, or do you think he's going to raise?
Like, oh, no, I lost.
I think he's going to raise. He knows he has the best hand now. He's not that afraid of much.
A small raise.
Very
here.
small raise.
Just $6,000.
$2,500 and a call in between. And he makes it just over 2 times.
So Vito calls, and now Deeb, of course, will be priced into call.
Of course, yeah.
Like the 10K dealer's choice next year.
Dealer's choice.
Yeah, there's like
Freedman playing his hand a little face up here. We know he's not going to raise with ace-x of spades.
Freedman has been playing very, very tight. He's pretty much only put in an aggressive action with top set.
We can pretty much expect him to have 2 pair or better. We don't think he's going to be calling preflop with 6-4 that often. So we pretty much think he's going to have a lot of the sets here.
But it looks like Deeb is considering now bluffing with his hand and maybe coming back over the top. He doesn't. He just calls.
No, I'm going to need something.
He's priced into call. I think if he raised and got re-raised, that'd be pretty disastrous.
This year the game was the real dangerous game was pot limit triple draw.
That game plays huge.
That was insane. Yeah, I mean it was like the whole.
Freedman with a lot of chips in his hand. Let's see how many he cuts out.
I mean they really need to take it out.
It'll be looks like 12,000 half pot bet.
You just kind of get stuck in spots where you have to call huge bets.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Vito here, can you get away from a flopped bottom 2 pair?
Did you see that video I put out?
I mean, it's hard to say. We're sitting here in the booth and can see everyone's hole cards, but I'd be willing to fold here, considering it. You know, Freedman has shown no aggression whatsoever unless he knows he has the best hand. And look at this. Freedman looks like he's going broke this hand.
Not able to. He goes all in, and now Shaun Deeb is saying, am I getting the right price here?
And so, like, I show that clip, and then I go, oh!
With my pair of 7s and up and down, he's thinking, is it possible that if I river 2 pair of that hand is good? Is it possible I can hit a 7 for trips and win with that?
Yep. He's getting almost 3.5 to 1 here on a call. So that means he has to be good 1 and 4.5 times. He's calculating in his head, you know, does he have the right price? And what types of hands can he be up against?
Really?
Like,
I had like a big
no, your face is fine. I'm not making fun of your face. I'm just saying that, like,
Deeb staring down Freedman.
and, like, have the frame, but they just, like, kept going in.
Correction on the chip counts here. It's 16,200. So
I guess that was from 2010.
Probably.
Deeb is aware that Freedman has been playing pretty snug at this table. Of course, he can't see the whole card, so unless he's getting fed information, he doesn't know just how tight Freedman has been pre-flop. And the other thing that's going through Deeb's head right now is, you know, can Freedman even have top set? I mean, Freedman just flatted pre-flop. Maybe Deeb is thinking Freedman, if he had a hand like pocket queens, would have been willing to 3-bet at pre-flop.
right.
I don't know why you felt the need to actually count out to 5 on the interview.
Surely Deeb doesn't think a 7 or a 5 on the river is good for him, especially with the all-in in between 2 ways.
Well, we have seen Vito play pretty loose at this table, so Deeb could be thinking that Vito maybe slow played an overpair to the board, maybe has a hand like ace-queen.
Possible. Vito could also have, you know, ace-4 of spades, ace-7 of spades, hands like that, 5-7 of spades. All those hands are pretty likely when, you know, Freedman bets 12,000 and Vito only has 16. He might be just willing to stick it in. Looks like Deeb's going to be folding this one correctly.
Deeb lets it go. Freedman makes the call, and Vito will get the bad news. He's drawing dead here.
The cards right here.
It's our first all. Oh, wait, second all.
So the river card won't matter here. As Freedman rakes in a huge pot and shows the value of slow playing his pocket queens pre-flop. Of course, when you do happen to hit top set, and you're up against 4 other players, it's more likely that your opponents are going to go ahead and coordinate with that board and be able to continue. That's the benefit of playing queens this way. Of course, the downside is that when you don't flop a set, you leave yourself open. Your hand is very vulnerable.
Right, and we've seen players have to just check fold. You know, kings on a 5-4-3 board.
But sometimes drawing to a misdeal is all you got.
You know, you got to be skilled enough to let go of your hand if you're going to play trappy like that. You know, you're not often going to flop top set. You know, what are you doing on the king high and ace high boards, and what are you doing on 5 high boards? If you're going to lose money with kings 5-6 ways, then it becomes not profitable then to just, you know, set mine for top set and play that passively. It's a much more profitable strategy to try to extract value, play your hand aggressively, especially from the early positions like under the gun 1, kings, queens, aces. That's how you're going to make the most money.
So the 3 of spades on the river means Deeb would have won that pot had he chosen to continue.
Why are you so intrigued by mine?
Was there a correction on that board card there? First showed a jack.
Oh.
Was it a 3?
It said 3 by the end.
Okay,
I think that they
might have
ran it
corrected
twice.
Oh, they did run it twice. That's right. Yeah, they ran it twice.
Not quite sure
dead.
why they ran it twice.
Maybe they agreed before they showed the cards, but.
Right.
Were you considering something? I don't know what I was considering. No strategy discussion at the table. I am now extremely confused. We'll find out tonight. I'm hoping.
Just tell us.
It might end up on my YouTube
Why
channel.
can't you tell us?
Analyzing the
I
hand.
think you wouldn't berate me for that one. It's one of the few.
It's hard to know because I just
You want to berate me so bad.
honestly, like, there's something called the Shaun Deeb theory, which is when people that are not well liked get stacked, people watch. So I'm hoping.
So I keep 3-betting me.
It's with a bunch of people. It's Helmy is a bit like that. I think who else? Who else when they get stacked? Bonomo. I don't think I've done one with him.
So here comes Frank Kasella, who's been pretty quiet. He now picks up pocket kings, 3-betting GI. GI, who's been very loose here, calls the 3-bet with ace-4, and Frank Kasella wants his revenge after getting it all in on that 4-4-5 board against GI.
There would never be any hidden chips on Poker Night in America.
Comes the flop, ace-4-5. He won't be getting his revenge here. GI flopping 2-pair and Kasella betting. What do you think about this continuation bet here?
Versus a player like GI, I like it. A lot of times in 3-bet spots, players will actually c-bet kings on ace-high boards, usually to a smaller sizing, because the smaller size you use, the more often you're able to c-bet with a wider range. So versus someone like GI, who we know has been playing a lot of hands, likes to raise a lot of hands. We've seen him raise with queen 3 clubs, pocket 4s from early position. You know, not terrible to c-bet this board and see what he's going to do. Obviously, we're just folding right away whenever GI throws a pile of chips in the middle. But don't mind it versus GI there. What size did he use? Did you catch that?
I think it was a little bit more than 1/3 the size of the pot.
Right. I don't think I would go any larger than about 1/3 pot. Probably closer to 20 or 25%.
And then GI raising up with with a hand as strong as the hand that GI flopped there with 2-pair, I would be inclined to just call.
Correct, I would too,
on the
especially
flop.
in the 3-bet pot.
Yeah, it's always nice to have top set.
True.
And, you know, I've been playing so much Omaha, you look at that and you see straight, but you realize it's hold'em. So
Yeah, it's hold'em, so you're just
And it was
good.
raised pre-free.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You know.
On the other hand, if there's someone who's going to call with 5-7 of spades, you know, free, it's this end of the table. So.
Maybe a 5-7 of spades. Like around the.
A couple players, or sorry, Shaun Deeb sitting out. Vito still contemplating on what he's doing. We see GI straddle for 400 here. 5-handed. And folds to Kasella in the small blind, who raises to 900. A very small sizing again. Only 5-handed though. Doug Polk with the 3-bet, and Kasella quickly lets it go.
I keep having good hands against you.
That was way ahead of me. I had a king.
Pretty big size. He made it 3,500.
Exactly.
Doing.
And 2 diamonds. Even a flush would have been
we see Shaun Deeb coming back just in time for his big blind. GI not inclined to do the double straddle like Doug Polk has shown to approve. But he has the ace-4 suited under the gun. Maybe he would have wished he had put that double straddle in. He just calls. Again, mixing in his strategy of limping and raising from early position with all of his hands, weak and strong. Polk and Deeb both check their options in the big blind. GI again with a pretty strong hand, flops top pair and a gut shot. Deeb with the same gut shot and backdoor spades, and Polk with middle pair and the backdoor 9 high spades. GI is going to bet 600, and Polk continues with his middle pair. Surprised to see Deeb fold his gut shot there, closing the action for 600, getting 3-1. Pretty good turn card for GI. He bets 1,700. Can't imagine Doug is going to do anything fancy here, and he just lets it go.
Got quiet in here.
It did.
Left, he was doing all the talking.
Exactly. Yabba dabba dooba dabba. Is he coming back or is he done?
He said he's, I think, come back.
I have no idea.
I think he's controls are still here.
Players are asking and talking about if Vito is coming back. Kasella seems to think he was. A couple of them said they thought he would too, so we'll be waiting to see what his decision is. Freedman under the gun with the ace-jack of spades, just calls. Polk on the button with king-queen offsuit, finally isolating to a slightly larger size than the rest of the players at the table, making it 1,000. And GI in the big blind calls with 10-7 offsuit. Freedman also calling, going 3 ways to the flop. Five deuce, 2 spades. Freedman with the nut flush draw and 2 overs. Checks around to Polk on the button here, who is going to c-bet for 1,500, about half pot. I don't think Freeman's going to be folding his nut flush draw this time. He does call. Turns a 4. He adds a gut shot. He's also already in the lead. Think Doug's going to probably check this one back, but if he decides to bet, yeah, he's going to check it back. He'd probably go on the larger size to really target Freeman there. And it just goes check, check down to the river, and Freeman takes this pot.
It's a friendly turn card for your hand.
Yeah.
Wheel draw.
An emergency.
So Freedman raking in another pot. He's currently the biggest winner at this table.
Yeah. My hand was not looking very good there.
Hard to not be a winner when you flop top set and have the other guy all in drawing dead, so.
Shaun Deeb, the other big winner at this table currently.
I was like, I'm gonna let that go. Discipline, man. Sometimes you gotta let it go. I knew you were strong. Strong draws are strong, you know.
Deeb raises up the button with 8-9 offsuit, and GI just calling. With pocket kings in the small blind, we've seen a lot of players at this table slow playing their big pairs pre-flop. Freedman coming along with ace-8 offsuit in the big blind. 9-10 jack. Freedman is up and down. Deeb with bottom pair and up and down, and GI reaching for chips to lead out on this board. Leads out for 1200. Deeb calls. No help for Deeb on the turn, and GI just checks. I'm surprised that GI is checking here. He has to believe that his pocket kings are good on this board. He also has a gut shot. Deeb checking behind. 4 gives GI the check mark.
Nice.
GI announces that he just has a king. Deeb reveals his hand, and GI gets off the slow roll on Shaun Deeb,
You're gonna fit in here.
giving him a taste of his own medicine. The table has some laughs about it.
Oh wait, I have an extra king. Didn't see that one coming. I usually smile at slow rolls.
Hard for Shaun Deeb to be upset about that in such a small pot, especially when G lost at least 1 street of value in that hand.
Don't glare at me. Slow. Don't be breaking the rules.
I'm just trying to do a little promotion. A little promotion on the side.
I won't tell this time.
Much appreciated.
GI raises up the button. Freedman just calls in the small blind with ace-5 of clubs. This is another good candidate for a hand to 3-bet out of the small blind, but Freedman hasn't really been taking on a strategy where he's 3-betting too frequently here. Checks over to GI, who continues here with his gut shot.
All right, I'm gonna win a big one now.
Do it.
That's how you do it.
I think
Yeah.
you're getting a walk this hand. I feel like your 5th biggest win of the day.
A walk?
It would be.
So hard for me to.
If you really want to pump the pot, fund half of his restraddle.
I'm not gonna do that.
I've seen
I'm not
people
gonna
do
pay.
that.
I'm not gonna pay to make my straddle worse.
I've seen worse sickness.
Oh, that goes back to that hand I was talking about.
Did you have the queen in that one hand? Where was 3 up pop?
Where was
Shaun Deeb with red kings under the gun.
Yeah.
had a high card.
GI with pocket 9s.
This could get exciting.
Everyone's so secretive.
About what?
About hands that they have.
I'll just turn it right over if you're ever wondering.
I had the same hand that I took a stack with, actually. It was 2 queens.
Oh, wow.
Let's see if Deeb continues to
Kasella calls and
outflop everyone.
Polk with a very loose call in the big blind here. 7-4 offsuit. I'm surprised he completed here. 4 ways to the
It's
flop.
very surprising to me as well.
Wow, a
Look
9
at this.
and a king on the flop, set over set, and that's a disaster for GI.
Wow.
Especially right after GI slow rolled Deeb. I wonder what's in store for him here.
Deeb continuing just to flop the best of it.
Last time when GI flopped strong, we saw him quickly throw out a bunch of chips, taking a different posture this time as he's deliberate, taking his time. A little bit of a different situation as he has 2 more players behind. He just calls, fold, fold.
Might save him from going broke this hand.
It's going to be tough for GI to get away from second set here, I'd imagine, especially on that turn, the 4 of hearts.
Not happening on that turn.
Doesn't change anything.
But by flatting on the flop, God forbid a spade roll off on the turn, it might save GI some money there by not getting it in on the flop.
So there's 10K in the pot. It looks like these players are about 27,000 deep. Perhaps 30,000.
Yeah, it looks about 30. GI putting his hand on the set of his head, and he kind of sighed and changed his body posture there when Deeb was getting ready to put chips in the middle.
Oh, GI is trying to milk this. He's trying to make Deeb think that, you know, he just has a marginal showdown value hand.
Ask the dealer for the exact count. And announces 20,000 before putting them in. Usually pretty strong.
Shaun Deeb is seeing nothing but Vegas in the Mirage right now.
Does 1-5 get back there? Yes.
Deeb was astute enough to notice the one cranberry hidden behind GI stack, so closer to 35,000 it looks like on our estimates of chips behind. I imagine it's likely just going in here.
Wow, GI did not snap.
Call. Top set. Wow. Once or twice.
Oh, the two players get it all in, and GI drawn to one out here. He needs the last 9 in the deck to win this pot.
You want 1 or twice? 2? Okay.
They're going to run it twice.
2. How much we got? How much? 2. 43.
So that single stack of yellows ended up being a little more deceiving than we thought. The dealer was saying 43,800 was the total all in, along with the hidden cranberry, which Kane and I both forgot was behind there, just did not see.
I thought it was. I knew it was strong.
So he has 2 shots to hit a 9. He's not going to win the first board.
He thought about folding. I mean, as hard a fold as that can possibly be.
And Deeb is going to scoop this pot. Top set. What a cooler.
Deeb wins a huge one against GI here, and Deeb currently the biggest winner at this table. He bought in for 50K. He's just been rampaging this table. He's always seems to have the best hand on the flop. And certainly it's good there when you flop top set and your opponent flops second set.
Yeah.
Looks like GI had chips ready to go. He's still in action.
GI will rebuy. Shaun Deeb now the biggest winner at this table. I believe Deeb and Freedman are the only winners currently in this game.
I believe that's correct. Vito is out and no longer participating. We haven't seen him rebuy yet. Doug is down, and Kasella appears to be down as well. And we see GI get some change from Deeb there.
Macaulay's been quiet at this table, but we haven't really seen him win a pot.
No. He's been very quiet and hasn't really been active at all either. He's only been in 1 or 2 hands.
Yeah.
That's something.
That is.
That's its own skill set.
There's like 3 big hands I think I can remember ever playing. 2 to the good, 1 to the bad. You know, it just doesn't happen that often.
There are certain things in poker where you're just like gonna lose like all your money.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's just like one of them.
I hope not all your money, just what you have on the table.
Yeah.
It's not the Western where we throw our watches and car keys. I want you to start throwing watches in pots. I might have called the turn on that last one if you put a watch in there.
Action to Doug, who looks like he's going to take his option and squeeze again here from the big blind with the suited ace-9.
Doug has been 3-betting a lot out of his big blind. Is Freedman going to call with King-10 offsuit?
Freedman was the one who opened, you know. Would that make you more inclined or less inclined to squeeze there from the big blind? It's hard to say.
That would probably make me less inclined. I cannot believe that Freedman is calling here with the King-10 offsuit.
It would make me less inclined too because he's been limping with his other hands.
Well, Freedman continues to run well, flopping top pair here. Not much going on for Polk. He does have the backdoor nut flush draw. Polk firing hard here on the turn. Perhaps Polk is thinking that this is a good board for his range. Perhaps he's also thinking that Freedman has been a little bit on the tighter side. Are you surprised to see Polk fire such a big bet here on the turn, Austin?
No, I'm not surprised. Freedman's only shown to continue with his strongest hands, and Doug squeezed from the big blind here, you know, trying to rep pretty big hands, ace king, aces, kings, jacks.
I love that I just like barrel.
And you know, it's very possible that Freedman could have a hand like queens or tens or a weak king that he continues with, as shown. That's really hard for him to continue versus another large bet. I definitely like that Doug upsized versus Freedman there, making it really hard for him to continue unless he has the best of it. If we saw a call on the turn by Freedman, I don't think Doug would fire again on the river because he knows Freedman is just too strong.
Are you surprised that we saw Freedman fold top pair there?
No, I'm not that surprised. I think it was a loose call pre-flop, and he's going to see a turn very often, but he's only continuing with the best of his hands. I think we'd see another call from ace-king. King-queen would be really close. I'd be really interested to see if he called or continued with king-queen in that spot. King-10 was just too weak for him. I just think the heat was too much for him to handle by Doug there.
I would have to have a separate suitcase just of those shirts every time I travel.
So if Polk and the other players at this table are getting information from the stream, they should note that Freedman folded a hand as strong as top pair there on that turn. It makes Freedman very bluffable if he's laying down hands as strong as king 10.
Yeah, he appears to be very bluffable.
See what happens. I can just do it. And then, like,
Playing his hands fairly face up most of the time, not being too aggressive, and when he shows aggression, he just tends to have the goods. So typically that's pretty easy to play against, especially when you're playing in position and, you know, he's not putting much money in pre-flop unless he has the goods.
I wonder if we would have seen Doug continue to fire on the river, and if part of the reason he fired on the turn is because we saw Freedman, when he did flop top set, raise with the pocket queens on that board. So Doug Polk may have been thinking, you know, Freedman's the kind of player who, when he really connects strong, likes to go ahead and put in the raise. Therefore, he could have a strong hand, but not a super strong hand, a hand that's strong enough that he'll fold by the river.
Yeah, I think we got like rotating circles.
If Doug was going to do it, I think that was one of the hands he would have had to follow through with. He had no equity, especially on the turn, except just maybe hitting an ace that he doesn't even know is good on the river. So that makes him more inclined to put in that last big barrel on the river and try to get Freedman to fold. If I'm in his spot, though, I just question how strong he is when he calls the turn when we get to the river, if he's able to take that or not. Here we see Doug turn the nuts here with king 7 of diamonds. Not going to get any value from GI, who just has 6 high. Check to Doug. We saw GI lead the flop on ace queen 8. I believe Doug just called, hit the nut flush on the turn. GI just check folds reluctantly. Doug upsized to 8,200 that turn, which is a good adjustment considering how many hands GI's been playing and continuing with. Doug appears to be one of the few players who's actually adjusted to that.
You get stacked like that. You said overset me. I get a lot of views. Oh my god! If I got all in middle set and Deeb had top set, I would have to like walk away and just try to breathe. I have to go over there.
Like, we have to both go watch it on the stream with Kane.
Right.
I mean, we have to do the Jeremy impression.
The Jeremy, yeah.
And so, Doug, what were you thinking here? Oh well, Shaun Deeb's kids are gonna not have food. And Sean's like, yeah, well, my kids, you know, they're college boys.
Is it because you ate their food or because my money ate?
Now, do you have a slow roll exception for set over set? Like, or are you
Doug raising up the cutoff here with king queen offsuit to 600. Deeb again just calling on the button with 9-8 of hearts. GI gonna call in the small with 8-4 diamonds, and Freeman as well gonna complete the big blind for 400 more with 9-5.
I would walk away for a little bit.
GI flops a gut shot straight flush draw here. See if he can hit another one. 2 in one day would really be something. Flop 7-7-5 here, 2 diamonds. GI checks first to act, and it checks over to Deeb with 8-9 of hearts. Checks back.
This is a hand that Deeb might fire if he were betting into 1 or perhaps 2 players, but with 4 players to this flop, it's just not a strong enough draw for Deeb to go ahead and fire.
Jack of diamonds on the turn. GI gets there and just checks. This time Polk taking a stab, being checked to twice as the original raiser. Also knowing Deeb checked the button behind makes Doug more comfortable to take a stab at this turn.
Do you expect GI to raise here or just call?
Well, we've seen him in the past aggressively throw chips in as a raise. I wouldn't be surprised if he raised after just being felted, wanting to put some chips in the middle. I personally wouldn't do it on a paired board, and especially with only the A-high flush. It's really hard for us to get called by anything worse, except just the naked ace or maybe king-high diamonds. But Doug's also a good enough player to know if he's not getting the right price, that it's correct for him to fold those hands on a paired board.
Well, he did raise, and I would have flatted as well, but it ended up working out for GI. He denied Doug Polk his equity with his diamond there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
There is a signature Shaun Deeb brand of poker that has its own like.
Well, you know, like Hard Rock in Vegas when I was living out there had like their like shit talking game. It's like a 5-10 like must drink. If you won a pot over like 2K, you had to take a shot. Like a drink.
About this.
It was like
Where was it at?
Hard Rock when they got like the new poker room years ago.
Oh, was it the 2-5 mandatory 10?
It was like a 5-10 or something. Whatever
It
it was.
became that maybe.
Yeah, it might have adjusted over the years,
Okay.
but it was like must slow roll, must take shots of up
That
so
was the
much,
coolest
like,
poker room of all time.
Yeah.
Such a
Like-
bummer that they closed it.
But it was clearly like the game that was made for me. Like
That's
if I,
fair.
Polk
I
and
wanna
GI
organize a game
going
like that
heads
in New
up
York and
again.
just, like, have a Shaun
But the
Deeb
thing
once
is,
a week.
for people like
Doug
us,
Polk the aggressor
you know,
with
I'm gonna
ace-10
say bigger
offsuit,
people,
GI calling the button with king-8 of spades, flopping the best of it,
we have a
king-jack
natural
deuce,
advantage for
rainbow.
drinking.
Yeah.
Like we just have a lot more pounds, so it's.
As we've seen in the past, we haven't seen
kind of a
GI
very good
check
shot
top
for
pair.
everyone,
We've
you
seen
know?
him check his middle and bottom pairs,
Frank took his first ever shot with
as well as bet them. We've never seen him check top pair, I believe, so he's going to continue and bet. He's also got a backdoor flush draw.
Counting. I thought it was
Doug
two
calls
couples.
with just a gut shot,
I'm colorblind,
one
you know
over
that?
card.
1, 2, 3, 4,
I'm not colorblind.
5.
Queen of spades would be an interesting card.
He's always bluffing, guys. It's Doug.
I'm not colorblind.
I just can't wait to fly out for your birthday and my birthday combination party next year.
Turn 9 of hearts, GI
Oh,
continues
just two separate
again
ones, so we can go out twice.
for what looks like 4,000
Excuse. I like it.
into 8, so just a half pot bet again.
If Doug continues here, I'd expect him to raise. I don't think at this point he can call with his hand anymore.
No, he's not getting the correct odds to call by any means, especially with GI only starting the hand with just under 50,000.
It was a perfect
They're
mix
talking
of
now,
genres,
they got
like,
about
you know,
40,000
they get
behind
stuff from
now
your
in the hand on the
childhood,
turn.
from my childhood,
So he's
like
definitely
mine
not
stuff.
priced in to call for just a gut shot, but it looks like he is going to raise,
Yeah, so Doug
which is correct.
raising here, I would wonder if he'd be a little reluctant to raise with how loose GI has been playing. But Doug, not a very exploitative player. He's more kind of a guy who's going to, you know, go with the math, go with his cards, and in general he's going to stick to that game plan. And here he is sticking to it here, really putting GI in the ringer, raising him up here on the turn. GI with top pair, he has been loose. He hasn't been the kind of player who likes to fold these kind of hands in these kind of spots, and
Right, as we
he's
see
reaching for chips.
GI counting chips out, looking like he's about to call. I was about to comment. I'm not really sure I would take this spot here in Polk's position.
Wow,
knowing that
what a
GI
great call by GI here. I mean, with just top pair, you know, facing this action.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point. GI is just felted, and, you know, he's already put 8,000 in the middle. It's only going to be 8,500, 9,500 more for him to call once Doug raises to 13.5 there. And I'm not sure if GI is going to be the type of player to fold there after just getting set over set to Deeb, you know.
So another Doug Polk bluff doesn't work out. Doug Polk kind of shrugging, saying, you know, what can I do if I can't get him off top pair? And this is the second bluff that has gone wrong for Doug Polk. The first one, of course, against Vito, who called Doug on the river, snap called him with second pair on a pretty dicey board.
What do you think of Doug's raise size there? GI made it 4,000, and Doug he made it 13.5 on the turn when he's playing about 40,000 effective. Would you go larger? Would you go about the same? What do you think about that size there? Because
I think Doug's size is fine there. It's the kind of turn where Doug shouldn't have too many hands in his just pure check raise bluff range. So in general, when you're on boards where you want to be bluffing less, you want to be betting smaller relative to the size of the pot. On boards where you're going to have more bluffs, where you want to have more bluffs per value combo, you want to be betting larger.
That was the only one that was
right. Correct.
1 or 2 outs.
With that said, I was thinking about GI not being that inclined to fold his hands, especially if he has top pair in this position, or top pair and a gut shot, or middle pair and a gut shot. There's so many combinations of those types of hands. You know, maybe there's something to be said to go slightly larger, 14-5, 15-5, and by doing that, if you make it 14-5, now the raise size is 10,000 or more to call. You know, some players place that psychological effect of having to call $10,000 more. Do you ever play that into your consideration when making a raise size?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's, again, something that Doug is thinking about less than most players. You know, I think Doug is more thinking about where his hand is in his range. And I think that it was a textbook spot for Doug to go ahead and bluff raise there. That's really one of the best hands for Doug to bluff with on that turn.
Of course, it's his best semi-bluffing hand, other than maybe bottom pair in a gut shot.
Or perhaps pocket tens, which blocks queen 10 stronger.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of the way it's developing right now, so we're gonna have to play it by ear. How much does he have?
Shaun.
Who's number 4?
Oh, 4? Oh, yeah, me.
This is like 50.
I don't think we're gonna have enough time to eat there. That's why. Can we just do the normal setup like in the poker room? Just do the normal through the cocktail server. We set up in there and then we just eat in there. That's fine.
Yeah, we're not fancy.
Yeah.
Just us?
Just me and you.
Chop?
Video coming too.
Chirelli video.
Raise.
Oh, God.
What? Nothing.
Oh.
Folds to Kasella here in the small blind. They jokingly asked to chop, but Kasella makes it 600 with 10-9 of diamonds. Doug continues with Jack-6 offsuit. Maybe a bit of a loose call, blind versus blind. I know Doug likes to play a lot of hands, but Jack-6 suited might be, or Jack-suit offsuit, excuse me, might be a hand that I just let go. Doug flops a pair and Kasella flopped a flush draw and gets there on the turn and checks it, very interestingly.
Polk will not be fooled here, checking back a pair of jacks. Big bet on the river here, 2,000 into 2,200.
I feel like I'm gonna fold and you're gonna just be like, ah, 9-8. But
I wouldn't do that.
But I wouldn't do that. I don't believe you at all. But I feel like fold is the correct play, even though I'm gonna be like, no 9-8. No 9-8. Okay. All right, that's good.
Not 9-8, Doug, but 9-10 of diamonds.
Okay, I don't close enough.
Kasella does show the 9 of diamonds.
Okay.
Doug getting a little bit of info on Frank Kasella before their 50K heads-up tournament coming up in about a week or two. Poker Night in America putting on a $50,000 buy-in freeze-out. 4 players, Jungle Man Daniel Cates, Doug Polk, Frank Kasella,
Exactly.
and of course Phil Hellmuth. They'll be competing for a winner-take-all $50,000 no-rake tournament hosted by Poker Night in America. Make sure you tune in for that.
Is Bitcoin up? You might be winning today.
Is it up?
I don't know. I don't have any coins.
Oh, I see.
I have to win in poker on.
Do you have as many
unlike
as
you.
I do?
Yes. I actually have less because of my side bet.
Oh.
Hey,
Oh,
bet
that's
against it,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
GI continuing to keep up the straddle tradition here from from what would have been under the gun. Kasella makes it 1,200, going larger now, 3x.
Mr. Polk, 3-betting out of the small blind. Do you like this 3-bet here, or would you maybe flat with a hand like Ace-Jack, considering how loose Deeb and GI have been playing out of their blinds? Perhaps you could get them to come in with some hands that you dominate if you just flat.
It's close. You can elect to flat and 3-bet some percentage of the time. I believe they're only 5 or 6-handed right now. And it's a straddled pot. I think because it's a straddle, I'm actually more inclined to raise from the small blind here and capitalize on that extra dead money. We know Kasella's been raising pretty wide, and if we call, we know Shaun Deeb likes to continue a lot from the big blind. GI's going to call from his straddle, so we're definitely going to go 4 ways very, very often here with Ace-Jack offsuit. I'd be more inclined to flat with Ace-Jack suited. Ace-Jack off, I think in a straddled pot, I would just like to squeeze there and take the dead money.
So Deeb puts in the 4-bet with the Ace-Queen. What do you think Deeb would have done facing a 5-bet from Doug Polk with how deep they are?
At least 1 key blocker.
Okay.
I imagine he just would have folded. They've been joking around with each other and having their fun, but they've also been giving each other a lot of respect, showing each other their hands when they've bet or when they've 3-bet each other and had it. They've been, Deeb's been showing Ace-10, folded under the gun when Doug squeezed his big blind with Jack-10 suited. No one's really gotten that out of line yet,
Some
so
lessons out here in the felt
I wouldn't have even minded a 5-bet from Doug there. I think that would have been very interesting.
By the end of the session, I hope
Doug, having a few mishapped bluffs here and there, I think is just a little gun shy right now.
We don't want you out there
Playing a little straightforward.
Game is still young. Got another day here on the show too. Plenty of time.
Doug trying to console himself for being down at the moment.
We've seen him continuously count his chip stack a couple times since the last hand.
He's down at probably around 35,000 right now. Certainly not the biggest loser in this game.
You're going to win.
I'm not falling for that. You can throw them in the muck or turn them over. Okay.
Solid.
He got me once.
Solid.
That ain't gonna happen again. Not tonight.
Nice.
Frank Kasella will not be slow rolled by Deeb.
90 days or something.
In a week in New York, I'll get you.
Maybe in a week. Okay,
That's an
maybe a week.
extremely fair approach.
I'll give you a week.
Sell Ace-10, he'll open that up under the gun. Deeb with the Ace-Jack. Just calls on the button. Here comes GI with the King-9.
Yeah, not surprised to see Deeb flat here. He's flatted all of his weak holdings, 8-5 suited, 8-9 suited, 10-7 suited. It makes sense for him to continue his tradition with hands as strong as Ace-Jack offsuit even, and just call instead of 3-betting the button there.
GI checks.
He's been much more inclined to 3-bet from the blinds instead of the button.
Is that Macaulay in the pot? Does he have cards?
I thought he went home. So Deeb with the check mark here. He cannot lose unless he decides to fold.
He's facing a $2,500 bet from Macaulay. Macaulay perhaps trying to go ahead and use that tight image to bluff at this board. reaching for chips for a river bet.
Seemed like he was a little reluctant there to.
Wow, and Macaulay gets one through.
Put chips in there with his hand. It looked like a little shaky.
He shows the bluff.
Even ace.
Can you blame Deeb though for folding? I mean, Macaulay hasn't played a hand in forever.
Real good.
And the hearts got there on the river. If I were Deeb, I would have folded as well. And a great bluff by Macaulay. That's just an example of using your table image to go ahead and exploit your opponents.
Yeah.
Wow. Ace jack.
We expect Macaulay to probably be checking all of his weak aces on that river, right, when the hearts get there. So ace-jack really doesn't beat much except a pure bluff like king deuce of diamonds. And, until shown otherwise, Macaulay's been playing so tight. He's from the blinds. He just completed 4 ways, closing the action in the big blind. Very likely he can have any queen or hearts that got there that he semi-bluffed with on the turn.
Has been won by having top set. Note to self.
It's just like playing
Kasella continuing to get aces.
I forgot about the straight flush.
Opening the pot to 600 with ace-9 offsuit.
Before the river came.
GI calling the button with ace-6 offsuit. And we see Freeman again with queens, just calling the small blind for 500 more.
Calling, just flatting with the queens worked out last time for Freedman. Unfortunately, this time it's not going to work out for him. Both players flopping a pair of aces. Friedman, though, knows when to get away.
They're not that common.
No, it's not common, but
it's still a pretty damn rare hand.
Yeah, see quads more. Definitely, as you should.
Well, Kasella checking over to GI. GI betting the worst of it.
Goes check, check. Kasella gonna win this pot. GI double checking his cards. Looks like a 9, but it wasn't. He did not chop.
You got it. Damn. You almost be starving.
Shaun Deeb, ace-8 suited under the gun. That'll be a raise for him.
All right.
Especially 6-handed.
Beer fill you up.
That is.
GI on his left. Freeman to the left of him.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, right?
GI calls in. Friedman just calling with pocket kings here.
Wouldn't that make him more full?
I don't know. You ever get like the munchies from beer?
No, I don't. I never heard of beer munchies. That's the thing. I believe you, but I just never heard of it.
So we see Freeman again flatting with the pocket kings here. We go 4 ways. He flops really good.
Wow,
it checks
and look
all the way to the button where
look
he
at the
flops the
deceptive
king high
check
flush draw.
by GI there.
GI flopped a queen high flush, who checked it, being the second last player to act. I'm not sure I would check being the second last player after the original raisers had already checked in front of me.
Very deceptive check. And now do you think we'll see GI just call here, or do you think we'll see him make a raise with the second nuts?
I think we're going to see a raise here. It's hard to believe when you see someone check in the second to last action here and then raise. It's hard to give him any credit, to have any credibility there. Most of the time I would think they have a hand like the naked king of diamonds. But Freeman's not the type of player here to put in a re-raise. It might be something I would do. Maybe not versus a player like GI, but definitely a hand that we can continue to put pressure with even on the flop. Especially versing that action that just doesn't look very credible at all.
He's probably just having trouble with the cage and stuff. Or
So you think GI is likely bluffing here?
No, I'm saying versus most players, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that type
So
of
would you not be
situation.
inclined to just flat since your kings have showdown value?
They do have some showdown value. I see most of the time it being ace X, maybe ace queen, ace jack with jack or queen of diamonds that players just elect to raise with now when they checked second last act.
So the board pairs on the turn. A lot of players would be slowed down by that. GI, undeterred, continuing to bet here. He bets 12,000, which is about half the size of the pot. A little bit more than half the size of the pot.
Can't imagine Freeman's going to fold here. He grabbed those chips pretty quickly, but now he's slowing down to think about it.
Do you think that Freedman believes that GI could just be on a stone bluff? Well, Freedman does let it go.
Wow.
GI
Very
taking
surprising.
it down.
Very surprising. Not sure I would have called that many times pre-flop with queens and kings, and you know, laid it down so easily.
Well, Freedman is so used to getting dealt premium pairs pre-flop, he feels like he
knows
doesn't
the
really
next
need
one
to.
is 3 hands away.
Yeah, he
so,
doesn't need to re-raise them pre.
He's not worried about it. The next premium's coming in an orbit. Deeb again, getting a very playable and raisable hand from under the gun.
And it's over.
King Jack
Then
diamonds.
it's just like dead silence here.
Shaun poked it.
Question for me is whether I get to eat dinner or I have to help my wife support. The soccer laptop is dead. My father-in-law is declining and has dementia, and he's from Argentina, so he's a big soccer fan. So I made a laptop with 20 soccer games, and he just keeps shuffling them, and he thinks it's a soccer channel.
Oh, okay.
Very smart. So.
Cool.
Wow. Does he ever realize that?
No.
I thought for a second he was speaking another language again, and then I realized he is speaking another language.
So my mother-in-law realizes.
GI happy to win a couple pots and get some momentum going. Continues to straddle.
It's been 4 months.
See Freeman at
Wow.
first.
That's
Fold
big.
6-3 offsuit.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Staying disciplined as always.
Lucid sometimes, like have like birds where like they remember everything and then they go back to like
Is that
remember nothing.
is that Macaulay in seat 1?
You know, the little kids. Like
He calls here with ace queen offsuit.
Can never be too careful with ace queen.
Oh, that doesn't
He
work
has
anymore because he
a
knows that
slight
the
winner in the
light
game
has to
after
be
that
on,
last hand
he gets
versus
rid of
Deeb.
that.
He looks to be up about $1,000 today.
Yeah, he really is.
The first time I saw
At his age, usually he should still be able to fall for that.
Yeah.
He likes lights, so he knows.
Well, now people actually, they watch people playing video games.
Oh yeah.
Or poker. Or
That's a big industry, actually.
it is Twitch.
Yeah, my kid will sit there and watch YouTube.
GI leading out with his gut shot here.
For hours. It's amazing.
He actually has the second most
as someone
equity
who
out of everyone in
plays
the
poker
hand
to
with that
watch,
gut
I
shot.
understand.
It's likely going to get through.
It's tough to flop the second most equity in the hand with 7-3 offsuit, but GI managed to do it and take it down.
Are we gonna order it now so that when we get there? Okay, cool.
You guys want me to order for everyone, or you guys want stuff you
I
want?
say order for me. I don't even care.
You can order.
I want
for
so
me,
much
too.
steak, Sean. Pick. I don't care.
Avi, what do you?
I'm going to get lots of sashimi and some
Just
meat
order
on
a bunch of
sticks.
food and I'll eat some of them.
All right. Are you hungry, Steve?
Yeah.
You want me to order for you as well? Or?
Okay.
I think you should order. I think just go to town.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure between everyone here will be the one. Yeah. All right. 4 orders of the seared salmon sashimi. 2 orders of the hamachi pepper sashimi.
Let me get 4 of the scallop set.
Doug Polk ordering the entire menu. Or I'm sorry, Shaun Deeb.
Big winner in the game. Appears to be ordering for everyone. I wonder if he'll be splitting the tab or taking it.
Polk raises a button.
8,
We'll go heads up with GI
12
here.
orders of the Wagyu tacos.
GI flops
1
bottom
order of the
pair,
duck breast.
checks.
Duck
Doug
breast.
Polk with only the
2
backdoor
orders
nut
of
flush
salmon
draw
belly.
with the king of diamonds. Gonna see a bet of 500 and a call.
Ribeye miso, good? Is that okay?
Yeah, miso.
Ribeye miso?
Yeah.
Always an interesting spot
3
with
orders of ribeye
king
miso.
high here. You think if Doug Polk didn't have the king of diamonds, he would have just checked back the flop?
You know, I think he still has to c-bet, being the aggressor on the
1
button
order
there
plain
versus
miso.
a player like GI defending the big blind, playing as many hands as he does. I think it's if you're going to be opening a hand as wide as king 3 or that, king 3 off on the button, you definitely have to c-bet these ace high boards. It helps that he has the king of diamonds in his hand.
It's the meat on stick part.
I definitely think he should still be c-betting it if he can.
Pork belly?
Yeah.
Give us 4 orders of that.
Again, the more hands he c-bets, the smaller sizing you use. So on ace-high boards there, a lot of the players implementing like GTO strategy might even go down to 25% one-quarter pot there, so they can continue with all of the range and just c-bet every single hand they're opening the button with on that texture.
Okay. I think that should be enough.
But if not, they've got eggs at the stand out there.
I wonder if they have enough food in the kitchen for Deeb's order. Deeb just ordered about 27 things off that menu.
I heard 4 orders of salmon sashimi alone.
4 orders of miso soup. How about 1 order of pocket aces? Here he goes, just calling the raise from Kasella here.
Wow.
He's really taking this button calling strategy to heart.
I don't
Perhaps
think he's 3-bet the button once.
Perhaps he wants to, you know, leave in GI
this.
behind, who's been a little bit looser.
Nice, thank you.
He's for everyone. Well, he did just that. GI called from the small blind with King 7 of clubs and flops a monster, 7-5-3, 2 clubs, and he elects to lead this one for what looks like 1,500 into 24.
So Freedman has no problem folding his middle pair over to Shaun Deeb now. I believe we'll be seeing Shaun Deeb just call here.
I didn't know him. He sat down. I didn't know you were serious. Some guy he said a bunch of people make fun of him. I swear to God, when he walked in lunch today, I said, what's this dude doing? He's a millionaire. He's wearing White Sox. What's wrong with White Sox?
Offsuit 9, no help for GI.
I got a jacket on and
But he is reaching for chips. He thinks his hand is still good.
Tonight on Poker Night Live, it's Survivor Champions Night. The good news, 4 former Survivor champions are at the table. The bad news, Poker Night Live is desperately over budget and we must eliminate one member of the crew. How are we gonna do that? Tribal Council style. Let's tally the votes. Stapes, Camera Kyle, Jesse, Camera Kyle, Stapes.
Absolutely. If you're Deeb, how large are you looking to bet here?
The final vote,
Probably between
Camera Kyle. The crew has spoken. Please leave the gardens immediately. Wait, hold on. No, hold on a second. I didn't think this through completely. Hold on, let me, I think Jesse is probably less crucial.
So about 75%, 3/4 pot.
Lose 50K.
Very arguable to go larger than this, or as large as this, excuse me, when GI leads the first 2 streets pretty confidently, 1,500 and then 3,500. We know he's probably likely to have a pair. He's just folding all of his air anyway. I see him make the call, so.
Guy makes the call and he gets the bad news here.
Deeb gets some good value there.
Coming back, 8,500.
Worked out for him that time. Flatten the button, implementing a little bit of the Freedman strategy, calling with the premium pre-flop.
I love black socks. See, my wife has good style. She buys all my clothes.
Deeb, as he's raking in his chips, puts his leg up on the table.
Yeah, that's a really good.
Some insanity here at the Hard Rock Poker Room, Hollywood, Florida.
Obviously, me and my brothers, when we were like 20, we went through a nerf phase a second time of our life.
20?
When we were like in our 20s.
Okay, yeah.
We had like massive like 10-on-10 wars at my dad's house. Like everyone come over, you just get drunk and play nerf. It was awesome. So it's obviously some of my most favorite thing to do. And so my brother, for my son's 3rd birthday, got him a Nerf gun. And Evan, obviously, you saw with your son's gun, the Pew Pew, he loves that. So he had it, kept hitting us with it, so Ashley took it away. But it's his favorite toy possible. And Ashley knows it's my favorite thing to do Nerf with him, because I want him. She hates the whole playing with guns thing, but I'd rather him play with that than real guns. So.
I think you can also not have them play with real guns.
Move to Texas, you can do both.
Hey, could you maybe move those black chips? I can't really see how much you're playing. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're seeing some more frequent straddles now. Kasella opened or had the straddle for 400. Doug opened it up under the gun with 2 9s for 1,200. Who was called by GI on the button. Flopped the best hand here with ace-10, flopping top 2.
Okay, you're gonna win this one.
Doug just quickly lets his 2 9s go. I'm sure GI is upset that he did not get more on that hand, but
For those who have chocolate. Wish I had some.
has been very quiet.
Okay. Oh, we just ordered the food now? Then we might not. Probably not. We just ordered food 2 minutes ago.
Shaun Deeb can't stop talking about food.
For the crew? Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, but they know that we're in a rush? Oh, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Making sure that they know they're in a rush to get their food.
He didn't order a small amount of food either. He ordered all the food.
Here's Deeb under the gun with Queen 10 suited. It's getting a lot of playable suited Broadway hands under the gun for Shaun Deeb.
We're going to see GI continue again with 6-5 offsuit next to act. A little loose. I usually like to fold this hand, facing an under the gun raise with many players behind. But GI is in the mood to see some flops, and we're going to go 4 ways this time with a couple ace 10 and ace jack behind.
4 ways, and guess if you just had to guess who the 2 guys who are not in this pot are.
If you also had to guess who flopped the most equity, that'd be Deeb again with top pair and backdoor flush draw. GI though, right there with an up and down straight draw. He's gonna bet. Do you like this check by Deeb here, being the aggressor, opening under the gun?
I actually do. 4 ways on the flop here. I think your hand is not quite strong enough to really be happy betting here. It's really a disaster if you bet and happen to get raised.
Yes, I agree. I think it's a much better candidate to check call, see what action develops behind you. You know, GI might lead, and Frank or some other player behind could raise you. Then you're in a really tricky spot. So a lot of good
cards
turn
to
cards.
7.
That's a fun card.
There's a good card for GI. GI hitting it straight. Deeb now with a flush draw.
He's gonna check. Give the option to GI. Let's hope GI doesn't check this back.
Last time we saw GI with a monster, he had the pocket 9s against Deeb, and he kind of acted a little bit. He seemed like he wasn't too happy. This time he's switching it up, just very quickly making a bet here.
Again, we see him. He acted quickly, and he kind of throws his chips out all in this aggressive way, aggressive manner, in a line. And he's been strong whenever he's done that. He hasn't had to contemplate much. He just kind of, throws them all out there. He doesn't really count them. It's been strength.
That's a strong read.
But Deeb's just way too strong to ever consider folding here. He's definitely going to continue, never raising. We're going to see 5 cards, dealer.
River card is a queen, and that's a disastrous river card for Shaun Deeb.
God, he's going to lose some extra here. Let's just see how good of a player he is and if he can lose the minimum. He's going to check. GI quickly bets 15,000. Deeb gets the bad news. Oh, what a bad river. I'm not sure Deeb calls that quickly on a jack river.
No. When he hits that queen on the river, he has to think he's good, and with the amount that GI has been losing, he maybe thought that GI was a little bit frustrated and pretty quickly made the call. But I mean, Deeb's hand was so strong, it's very difficult to get away there. And GI rakes in his first big pot of the session here.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen GI open a lot of worse queens. He can have worse queens than Queen 10 even. Queen 10's right there in the middle, but you can still expect some Queen 9, Queen 8, Queen 6. Yeah. Sure, the Queen 3s, 4s, and 7s beat us. They fill up with a full house on the river. But there are actually some hands that GI could be betting for value confidently still that we beat with Queen 10.
So it looks like these players are getting ready to go on break shortly. They're counting down the stacks so we can get an update for you on how these players are doing. Shaun Deeb just counted his down. He said he has about 99,000, which means he's up about 49K. We know for a fact that Doug Polk is down in the game. We don't know how much, probably in the ballpark of 50, 60K, I'd say. GI 50. Also down in the game. Friedman up in the game after that big pot where he had pocket queens and
against bottom 2 pair.
Against bottom 2 pair. And Macaulay probably right around even, probably down small in the game just from blinds. But these players are going to take a break. We're going to go ahead and step out. We're going to instead see if we can go ahead and get the table audio going for you guys. And that way you'll just be listening to the audio with no commentary. I'm actually going to step into the game and play myself. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going until about 11 o'clock East Coast time tonight, so stay tuned. This is Kane Kalas. Austin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Kane. And don't forget, we're also playing tomorrow and Saturday as well. Both days, all day here at the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood. And